There's nothing like playoff hockey, and the battle for a spot in the Stanley Cup final begins on the West Coast as the Blues face off against the Sharks in San Jose. That's game one of the Western Conference Finals tonight at 8, right here on NBC. Was not a great season for the Blackhawks, and Corey Crawford knows that all too well, but you know what? He's been able to erase the memories of the season by having some fun here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He will drive one of the pace cars today, and he even got to meet the pole sitter, Felix Rosenqvist, as well. He has had a fantastic weekend, and Kevin Lee has more on that. Kev?
And Corey Crawford has plenty of experience performing on the big stage as a two-time Stanley Cup champion goaltender. So what about performing on this big stage in a pace car leading a race?
I'd say this is a little more nerve-wracking. I've been able to play in some big games, but coming here, I'd say the butterflies are definitely showing up again.
Have you watched IndyCar before? Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, definitely. I watched, I'd say, more when I was a kid. Growing up in Montreal, I'd watch from time to time IndyCar and F1. I would be able to go to races at the track in Montreal. So, you know, I've always kind of had racing around, so I enjoy it. It's a cool sport, and I love cars too. So
it's great to have you here. Good luck in the Corvette.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, wishing him all the best. We'll keep an eye out for him as we get closer to the green flag flying. 4 races run in the 2019 NTT IndyCar season, and 4 different winners representing 4 different teams. Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, Takuma Sato, and Colton Herta, the teenager who became the youngest ever to win a race in IndyCar history in Texas earlier this year. And Newgarden comes into this 5th round boasting a 28-point advantage. But the most recent winner is Alexander Rossi. He's speaking with Marty Snyder.
And Lee, that big jump happened after his win at Long Beach. You know what Benny Parsons used to say the worst part about winning a race was? You had to go run the next one. And it's always a challenge, right? And you have struggled this weekend setup-wise. You start 17th today. What's been the biggest struggle with the car?
Thanks for the reminder.
BP for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. You're only as good as your last race in this sport. And, yeah, we had a difficult day yesterday for sure. 17th is not where any of us really expected to be. So we've got to work it out for us today. I think the car was a little bit better in warm-up. Still not quite where we need it to be, but yeah, it was one more session to learn and hopefully make an improvement going into the race today.
When you're one of the teams battling for the championship and you know you may not have the best car going into the race, how critical is it to manage this race then and keep the bigger prize in mind?
I mean, it's very important. It's what we've really talked about all of the offseason and going into this year. To win this championship, you got to maximize the days where you don't have it for whatever reason. So this is definitely going to be one of those days. It's a championship day, as we call it, and if we can get into the top 6, I think that's a victory for us at this point. So obviously we'll hope for more, and we'll get through lap 1, see what we have, and go race from there.
And remember this race last year, Scott Dixon started 18th, wound up finishing 2nd. This guy starts 1 position better than that, so who knows? He might put it in victory lane.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Marty, one man starting at the other end of the grid is Jack Harvey after a career-best 3rd-place qualifying effort yesterday. So now you've got the track position. How prepared are you and this team to now take advantage of that?
Well, I mean, I guess we're going to find out in a few hours, but I mean, going into the race, I think it's the best we've all felt. You know, clear on the strategy. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of an unknown in terms of weather. We can't control that. We just got to do what we can do really well. Mistake-free day, executing the pit lane really well, and try and deliver the best result we can.
This race kicks off a very busy month of May. How important is it in terms of kind of setting the tone as you look ahead to the 500?
I mean, honestly, pre-weekend we said we'd put an emphasis on this weekend just to get that momentum going. If you can build just a little bit and then hope it snowballs, I think we're putting ourselves in a good position to do that. And if we come out of this weekend with a great result, then I think we're just hopeful that that'll just keep coming and coming throughout the rest of May, and then have a great race today and another great one on the 26th.
Well, they kicked off the season with back-to-back top 10s, looking to do even better today.
That Meyer Shank Racing team are just so pleased with Jack Harvey's performance. We wish him well today. Could he bring a surprise victory? Well, I don't think many were surprised to see Will Power win here last year in the IndyGP. And then he went on to sweep the month of May by winning the 500. We'll talk about Power when we come back.
A textbook drive for Will Power. 56 of the 85 laps he led from pole position.
You're the man, Power. Nice work.
I've never driven so hard for an entire race.
Good job, boys.
You are not recognized until you win the 500.
The greatest driver of his era without an Indy 500 win.
During that month, there was a lot of disappointment in my career to have won more races than anyone, but not have won that race.
After 10 years of trying, Will Power wins the Indianapolis 500.
Yes, gotta be raced back.
He'll never be introduced the same way again.
Hell of a job, big guy.
I was wondering if I would ever win it.
Yes, can't believe it.
His intensity and determination is unparalleled, and he is the defending champ of the month of May, if you want to put it that way. And his Team Penske teammate, Simon Pagenaud, has been victorious here as well. You see all four for this weekend and the 500 Penske drivers, including Helio Castro-Neves, where they're starting. And the Team Penske drivers have an unbelievable record of victory here. Team Penske's won 4 of the 5 years. With a Penske driver who leads the points, here's Marty.
That would be Joseph Newgarden, but yesterday you said, wow, 6/10 off. Where do we find that kind of speed? Kind of take us behind the scenes. Like, what does it look like when the team's working overnight to find that much speed, Joseph?
This is always a tough weekend because when the car feels good and you're relaying that feedback to the team, it doesn't give you a lot to work on. You know, I'm happy with the balance. I like the way the car feels, so where do you go find speed? Then you got to explore a bit. You got to look at all the details. You got to start breaking down the sectors. Where are we losing? Where are we not? It's just a lot of work to try and figure that out. You talk with your teammates. It's nice having Helio here this weekend.
Yeah.
Get another voice, another opinion to kind of listen to. But we'll get there. I think we've needed a little bit of work on our road course car. I think we've improved in a lot of areas as a team, but we're just a little bit behind here. So, look, we'll catch up. This is the best of the best. I'm excited about my Fitzgerald car. It looks good. We're going to make something happen today.
Last Saturday, you were at the Kentucky Derby. I want to know what your first Derby experience was like, but unfortunately, your social media post, that was, this is what it looks like when you think you have the winning horse in the Derby.
I was so excited. Look at, I thought I was going to win $600. I was literally first in line to get paid. I was ready to go with everyone else, and then they start talking about blocking. I'm like, what is this? This isn't car racing. I didn't even know blocking was a thing in horse racing. So sorry to all the horse racers. I'm unaware of how it works, but I had a blast. So cool. It's like a little mini Indy 500. You know, place is very small, but they pack everyone in. It had that same vibe that you were building up to a big event and a big moment. And I think a lot of people hopefully that tuned in for that are going to tune into the Indy 500, and I'm excited about it.
It's hoping for a lot better day than maximum security. No blocking for Joseph Newgarden, Kevin.
Well, Will Power has been accustomed to starting out front, so now starting from the 6th position, you're going to have to deal with the chaos at the beginning. What do you expect?
Yeah, I mean, exactly that, a bit of chaos. I got a spotter up there. Yeah, he'll let me know if someone's charging down the inside, but just got to find the right gap and be smart in the first corner and try to get through, man. Like, try to get through without clipping your front wing or anything like that. It's no use in ruining your day straight off the bat.
The pace has not been what you expected. Do you think you found anything for the race today?
We definitely changed the car a lot last night. It's a different philosophy. Felt reasonable in warm-up, pretty good. So, yeah, we'll see how it pans out. It's hard to tell.
We're standing on the yard of bricks. Will Power kissed them after winning both races here last year in the month of May, Diff.
And Kev, this was not only a game-changing month and season-changing month for Will Power last year, it was a life-changing month for him to get it back in the points with this race and then go on and win the Indy 500. With weather coming, and weather is coming fast, what have you got to do strategy-wise?
Well, I think for the drivers up front that are starting on the softer red tires, they can have the advantage, and if it rains, you don't have to run the black. So I'm looking for that. There's a few cars lower down, like Rossi, starting on the harder black tire, probably hoping it stays dry a little bit longer. Weather is going to tell us everything today in terms of how things play out.
So, PT, you're one of those big-name drivers coming from the back. What do you do with weather in mind?
Well, you got to play what the weather's going to do, and I sense that Rossi is thinking championship because normally he's Mr. Excitement. So I think he's going to be a little bit more conservative today.
All right, we'll see. It sets up for a pretty fascinating story, doesn't it, in the Indy Grand Prix of Indianapolis. When we come back, a man who has traveled just about as far and as fast as these drivers here, Mike Tirico, when we come back. Getting close to the start of the Indy Grand Prix of Indianapolis. It's round 5 of the championship this year, and it can be a real turning point in the season for some. It can turn your whole month of May around like it did last year for Will Power when he won not only today's event, he went on to win the 500 as well. This is the beginning of 3 massive weeks here on NBC Sports in the NTT IndyCar Series. Veterans like Tony Kanaan, they would like to perform well today to launch them into the 500 in 2 weekends' time. And then you've got the teenager Colton Herter, who's electrified IndyCar in 2019. Time to go trackside for the ceremonies.
Fans, we now ask that you please rise and remove your caps for the presentation of our nation's colors. Now here is the pastor of One Fellowship Church, T.C. Taylor, for today's invocation.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you so much for today. We thank you for this opportunity to come together and enjoy the sport of racing. God, I pray that you would be with the race car drivers today, that you would protect them and watch over them today as they go through the race, Father. And Father, we pray that everyone here would have a good time. And it's in the name of my Lord and Savior I pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
Now please welcome top 10 contestant for season 14 of NBC's The Voice, Indiana's own Christiana Danielle, for the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we've held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we've watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
To the north as the flyover, an amazing flyover, 2, 10, 4
There aren't too many people here that need reminding it is the month of May, and especially not Mike Tirico, fresh from the Kentucky Derby. I said before, you've done as many miles. You travel as fast all over the country and the world as these guys. Welcome. We're super excited to have you host the Indianapolis 500 this year. How about your excitement level?
I'm looking forward to it, Lee, being with all of you, Townsend, Paul, the rest of the team, but also the folks of Indiana. I've been here since early this morning and walking around, just walked the grid a short time ago, and that excitement, even for today, is really palpable, and it's a great sense of it's an owned event, owned by the people of Indianapolis, and they're so excited to welcome you. Thanks for coming, and they want to tell you, I've been here for 25. This is my 43rd. There's great passion for this event, unlike almost any other event in the country, so for us, it is a thrill to look forward to a couple of weeks from now.
And as the old adage suggests, if you don't know, you should ask, and I wasn't sure if you'd been here before. When I asked, had you, and you said, well, I have, but not to the 500. Do you want to share that story?
That's right. This will not be the first time I've been on live network television from the Indianapolis Motor Motor Speedway, I did this then senior golf tour, 2 events at Brickyard Crossing. There's 4 holes, as you know, are inside the 2.5-mile oval. So it's not my first live broadcast from Indy, but it's the first one that really counts.
And things will move just slightly faster.
Yes.
Hey, we're also very pleased and excited, this has gone out publicly and a lot of people are aware of this already, but you're going to be flagged by Danica Patrick, Dale Earnhardt Jr. We've got a full cast.
Rutledge Wood coming as well, and I know Danica's thrilled to get here. We'll be here next weekend as the field is set, and that's exciting afternoon. We have come up next Sunday, noon to 3, being with all of you, and then, of course, before the race, we'll have everyone here. There's such joy and excitement about the 500 coming off the Kentucky Derby at the start of the month, and I thought it was said very well by Joseph just a short time ago in the interview. It's a small version of the Indy 500, and that's exactly what we see behind us, and we'll see. So we're all looking forward to bringing that to everyone. Even the non-hardcore racing fans know Indy 500 Day is a special day, so we're thrilled to share it with all of you guys.
And just a great personal point for you two to rack it up with Olympics and Super Bowl and Kentucky Derby. It's just another marquee event for you as well, right?
And the best part is today, I'm going to be a fan. I'm actually going to sneak upstairs where the spotters are for a little bit. I'm going to move myself around, so I'm going to have a good time. So you guys work your tail
we'll
off.
go to work.
Exactly.
you relax and enjoy, but you've been working flat out this year. Mike Tirico, and you'll see him next weekend on pole day, qualifying weekend, and of course race day for the Indy 500 on Memorial Day weekend. Well, helmets are on, drivers are in cars. Indy Grand Prix of Indianapolis when we come back here on NBC. Few months have a significance to a city like the month of May does to Indianapolis.
The greatest spectacle in racing.
Once May hits, anticipation starts to build for the last weekend of the month and the Indianapolis 500.
Drivers, start your engines!
Here, the month of May is a daily celebration to the biggest race in the world. But before attention is focused on the 500, drivers look to start the most important period of an IndyCar year with a victory on the Indianapolis road course.
You're the man, Power. Good job, boys.
Last year, Will Power began the month of May with a win on this special circuit, his 3rd in 5 years. Then capped off May by winning his first Indianapolis 500. After 10 years of trying, Will Power wins the Indianapolis 500.
Yes, you're gonna be raced back.
Is it May yet? You bet. And today, it's the IndyCar Grand Prix of Indianapolis. Feels good to say it's time to go racing in Indianapolis with the IndyCar Grand Prix. This is round 5 of the 2019 NTT IndyCar season. Ready to go on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. A little bit of the oval, majority on the interior, twists and turns. Now, one thing we will be keeping a watchful eye on today is the weather. We spoke about it in the pre-race show. It is coming. Percentages almost getting there, like kind of 50-50. We will see. But will we race dry or will we race with a little bit of rain is the question that needs to be answered to spice things up even more than they have been after qualifying. A very mixed field, mixed grid. Drivers in unusual positions. Youngsters towards the front. Veterans and champions down towards in lower positions than they used to be. And a rookie is on the pole position. All of the ingredients are there for a fabulous day.
Well, the way this course works, 6-7 wide on the start, it'll funnel down to 1-2 wide, and that's where the drama is going to happen as you see Helio Castroneves electing to take this Grand Prix to get ready for the big race at the end of the month. And this guy's been fast, Paul. Will Power.
Absolutely. He's had an up and down weekend so far. He's been up and down. He says his car's okay, not particularly great, so he wants to survive that first corner. But getting through that first corner is going to be the first obstacle because we've had many crashes down here at turn 1.
This is a hot spot for sure. Turn 1 at the Grand Prix of Indianapolis, you can almost bet that there is stuff going to happen. But as far as Penske drivers, and we just saw a couple are concerned, this has been a phenomenal venue. because Penske drivers have won 4 of the 5 runs so far. But Simon Pagenaud won the other one as well, and he was driving for Schmidt-Peterson back then. So it's only 2 current Penske drivers who have seen victory lane here. Will that trend continue today? And that man we just saw, Will Power, is trying to win 3 in a row. So we will see what he can do today as Colton Herta rolls off, getting ready to go to the grid. But Townsend, Paul, we've already spoken about turn 1 being a hot spot. Let's walk back through the years and remind ourselves of why.
Yeah, this is back in 2015. Lots of cars getting together in turn 1. You can see there's plenty of room to carry on the overshoot, but it just funnels together, and that curb at the apex is pretty sizable. It can launch guys into the air. This was back in 16. Paul Bourdais gets slammed by Kanaan right into the outside wall.
Absolutely. It's just so wide going down into the turn 1. It's hard to see those braking markers up on the fence when you're side by side with another car. But here, they all kind of get around the corner, and watch the green car of Simon Pagenaud gets nailed, boom, from behind. And he just gasses it up and gets through that gravel trap without getting stuck.
Why is everybody so anxious? Statistically, the pole sitter wins from up front.
We'll see if that happens today. When we come back, it's time to go racing after this. Back at Indy at the Brickyard, and moments away from seeing cars roll and grid up, form up for this Indy Grand Prix of Indianapolis. But before we can do that, it's time to go trackside for the command here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Let's get things going.
Now for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome the chairman of the board of Hallman and Company, Mr. Tony George.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
You see the All Ganassi front row with Scott Dixon and Felix Rosenquist, and these guys are hoping to play nice going into turn 1. A corner that goes from 190 miles an hour down to 55. And to throw another wrinkle into it, it's starting to sprinkle here at Indianapolis. Talked to Mike Hull, the managing director for Ganassi Racing, a moment ago, and he said, you know what? There are no team orders except one. Do not wreck each other, Kevin.
Right behind the Ganassi cars, a pair of young drivers. Jack Harvey, his best start for Meyershank Racing. In third, they won a result. And Colton Herta has been fastest all weekend. The last time he started 4th, he won as an 18-year-old in Circuit of the Americas, Kelly.
But Jones is lined up 5th, easily his best starting position of the season, which he says should make life that much easier. It has been a miserable start to the season for this driver out of Dubai. He looks as this as his best chance to right the ship, Robin Miller.
The official name of this race is the IndyCar Grand Prix. The unofficial name, the Team Penske Benefit. There have been 5 races. Roger Penske's cars have won 4 of them. 3 by Will Power. But today they got their work cut out for them. Power starts 6th. Simon Pagenaud, a 2-time winner here, starts 8th. Point leader Joseph Newgarden starts 13th. 3-time Indy 500 winner Elio Castroneves starts 15th. How are they going to get to the front? Red tires, maybe a little bit of rain, Lee Divvy. I think they're doing a rain dance.
There's been so many interesting stories this weekend, Robin, just like Andretti Autosport not getting into the Fast 12 in qualifying. Speaking of Andretti, there is the 1969 winner of the Indy 500, Mario Andretti. Hopefully you watched Drive Like Andretti before this, and going for a ride in the Honda 2-seater with Mario is Joe Rady, of course, from Rady's Rides on YouTube. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Lee, what's going on? This is a dream come true. Being driven by Mario here in Indianapolis. I love it. There, he's already getting on it. I told him not to hold back. Unbelievable, the G-forces going through this left-right transition. Amazing. I love this. Thank you, Lee.
We're going to give Joe an unofficial award. I think that's the best Honda 2-seater commentary we've ever had.
And a left front lockup from Mario, so no question he's pushing it in these cold conditions.
So Corey Crawford of the Blackhawks getting the rare opportunity and special opportunity to drive one of the pace cars. Sarah Fisher is driving the other one, and the official one, if you like that, to control the field. But this is, Corey's a big car guy, by the way. I didn't know that. I learned that this weekend, so this is a massive opportunity. And what a joy. There is Sarah right behind him, controlling the field, and immediately behind her is the pole sitter. The first-time pole sitter, Felix Rosenqvist of Sweden, driving for Chip Ganassi right alongside the 5-time and reigning champion, his teammate, Scott Dixon.
Got a couple guys with lots of experience. Dixon there, power coming from row 3, but they're sandwiched or sandwiching 4 young drivers trying to make a big result today.
Finally, a good qualifying effort for Simon Pagenaud. That's one of the better ones this year for him. Marcus Ericsson with a good start. That's his best start of the year as well.
Back in row 6, Spencer Piggott has showed a lot of speed, teammates to Ed Jones, and then the horsepower, the big heavyweights back here in 7, 8, and 9. You've got Newgarden, Castroneves, Hunter Ray, and Rossi, all multi-time IndyCar race winners, along with James Hinchcliffe.
It is one of the more mixed up grids that we have seen. Young sensation Pato O'Ward back there on the 10th row with Zach Veach, and then you've got Marco Andretti and Tony Kanaan right at the back. They will be trying to make amends for a frustrating qualifying. So 85 laps around the roughly 2.5-mile road course here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We've got a good variety of onboards for you. Thanks to Gallagher, this is the view of the 59 Carlin Chevrolet for Max Chilton. Zach Veach and Gainbridge give us this view. All of these beautiful onboards that tell us so much within the race. Lucas Oil's camera aboard James Hinchcliffe's Honda, and Alexander Rossi with thanks to Auto Nation. His teammate at Andretti Autosport, Ryan Hunter-Ray, also carries the Auto Nation camera as well. And Santino Ferrucci has the David Yerman view. This youngster from Connecticut has been very exciting this year. United Rentals provides this viewpoint of Graham Rahal aboard the RLL Honda, and that's the best view you could possibly have at Indianapolis. Nobody ahead. That's the NTT Data pole-sitting car of Felix Rosenqvist. You ready to go, fellas?
Yeah, everybody's working those tires really hard. It's super cold and tire temperature. Townsend's going to take a couple laps.
You know somebody's going to have lockup in the first corner.
It's an all Ganassi front row. The bright blue car is Felix Rosenqvist. The orange and blue is Scott Dixon. The pink machine behind is Jack Harvey, and then teenage sensation Colton Herter. This is the Grand Prix of Indianapolis. Let's go, and Jack Harvey with a great start on the inside. Tucks into second. Dixon's back to third already. Now Harvey going around the outside of Rosenqvist. Dixon tucks back on the inside. We're hearing Alexander Rossi's in trouble. There's slight contact midfield. But Jack Harvey with a super start. The pole sitter Rosenqvist leads the way.
Rossi is getting shuffled back big time.
That looks like Bourdais went off into the grass further back. He was caught out outside. Maybe it's Zach Veach. They're similar colored paint schemes. Bourdais in that Geico car, but Rosenqvist jumped everyone, and now Dixon wants to have a go at Harvey.
Big start by Harvey, jumped up to second place, but we got to see what's going on with Rossi. He has a major issue. He's off song. He's been hit. His car's damaged. Look, it won't drive straight.
Looks like rear damage the way he's counter steering down the back straightaway here. Big vibration.
This is the winner of the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500 and the most recent winner in the series at Long Beach.
Oh, he's got major damage. The rear toe link is bent, so that wheel is just flopping around, and that's going to be a long change, Marty.
And they just asked him, can you even make it back? He said, I can make it back. And they said, who was it? He said it was a teammate to make it worse. You hear Rob Edwards on the radio. It was Zach Veach that made contact with Alexander Rossi. This is a penalty of starting in the back of the field. And look at the action continuing on lap 2.
Jack Harvey driving defensively, keeping Scott Dixon, the 5-time series champion, behind. All the while, the pole sitter Rosenqvist is skipping away.
Harvey just needs to settle in here now. You have tire temperature. You have P2 on the racetrack. I know it's Scott Dixon back there, but focus forward and settle in.
He's on the push to pass. He's got a nice run off the corner. This is a fairly short straightaway, but Harvey doesn't defend this time, but it's a really short brake zone. You got to just about be side by side to make that happen. Let's take a look here from Veach. We have an onboard, so we're going to see. Oh, you didn't get hit by Veach. You got hit by Pato O'Ward. So Pato O'Ward, it wasn't his teammate Veach, and then Veach had his own issue down at turn 2.
We understand that Pato O'Ward will get a drive-through penalty for avoidable contact. Seems like a reasonable call based on the situation, and I wonder if Pato just thought everybody was going a little early. It looks like it. He had a pull out of line. We saw that at Barber earlier this year.
This is disastrous for Rossi. He dominated Long Beach, just absolutely mopped the field with everybody as we see one of the
Spencer Piggott
is trying to make a move. on Pagano, and he's inside. It's tight right there, and he pulls it off.
That's a great move. That's a great move. Meanwhile, up front, it is rookie Rosenqvist leading by 1.3 seconds. Alexander Rossi's made it back to the Napa pit at Andretti Autosport. Wasn't just the initial impact from O'Ward that hurt either. It was that slap into the wall.
Yeah, I think that's what broke that rear toe link, as you see Pato O'Ward serve his drive-through. And the penalty almost doesn't seem fitting when you consider the fact that Rossi's going a lap down with the damage.
And Pato O'Ward just apologized to the team. It has been a miserable weekend. They have really only had about 5 clean laps all weekend. Alternator problem in practice too. Didn't turn a lap in the warm-up this morning because of another alternator program, and that led into the weekend where he was named as a Red Bull Junior driver, which is very impressive. But for this weekend, it's been very forgettable for young Patricio O'Ward.
Yes, on a week where he got the best news in his racing career, where there may be a hope of some Formula One appearances in his near future, as far as a test driver, I should say, and clarify that. This is not the way he wanted his IndyCar weekend to begin the month of May to go.
Harvey is now stabilized, Townsend. He's pulled a gap now, and he's closing down Marty on that car in front. But here you go. What do you got going on in the pits?
Well, terrific racing out there. You see bottom right of your screen, Alexander Rossi sitting on pit road. All of the concentration on that right rear suspension for this team. Second place in the championship standings, just 28 points behind Joseph Newgarden. And we cannot emphasize enough, between the Grand Prix, the double points in the 500, and Detroit being 2 races, a lot of points on the line. They are sitting here losing valuable points. A team that wants to win the championship. And oh, by the way, Lee, he also put together the puzzle in his head when he saw Pato O'Ward serve that penalty. He said, I guess it must have been O'Ward who hit me, not my teammate Zach Veach.
Yeah, so much going on at the beginning of the race. Look at this, a couple of Penske teammates, Will Power and Simon Pagano. That's inside the top 10 in 8th and 9th. Spencer Piggott on screen for Ed Carpenter Racing. He's made a super start.
Up 5 positions and looks strong. He's already challenging Graham Rahal there in front. I think I saw Graham defending the lap earlier, but up front, I love how Jack Harvey treated that start. Very inexperienced, but had a great qualifying position. He challenged Dixon, then backed off, and now he finds himself comfortably in second.
And Harvey has won here in Indy Lights competition, but it's going to take some beating. This guy, Felix Rosenqvist, new to IndyCar, but looks like a veteran out front. The Gainbridge onboard camera view of 24-year-old American Zach Veach driving for Andretti Autosport, who was right there. He was there to see his teammate get hit, Alexander Rossi, right at the start of the race. Here comes Patricio O'Ward. Zach's right beside that.
Yeah, Ward looked like he was on the gas early. He hung back there, Townsend, and got a little run at it, and nobody went, and just plowed right into the back of Rossi. And as we get down into turn 1, there's Veach on the inside, on the curb.
He checked up big time.
He gets, I think, bounced right here by somebody. Boom, got a little tap, and through the gravel.
This is what it looked like for young Zach. Elio Castro Neves there. Marcus Ericsson goes to the inside of Castro Neves. Wait for it, wait for it. On the left. Boom.
Doesn't take much, just that little tap on cold tires got him sideways, but Felix now is starting to stretch his legs out, making that fuel mileage, and then we got Harvey there, followed by Dixon, followed by Colton Herta.
What a start. Just looking at that replay of the start, Jack Harvey almost had an opportunity, Townsend, for what you were predicting Scott Dixon to do to Rosenqvist, go around the outside, which just gives you the inside run for turn 2. He almost got there, but not quite, but a fabulous start from the British driver.
Yeah, he made a smart decision down there, and I think Dixon just really got jumped a little bit by his teammate Rosenqvist on the start. There you see Jack Harvey in that Drive Pink Auto Nation Sirius car.
Both of these guys, you see the brakes glowing red. Both of these guys.
Those brake zones in with that feel safe. Roll that speed through the apex.
Both of these guys ran each other in Indy Lights right here at this track.
It has been a dream for a long time for Michael Shank, a former racer himself, to have his team long time in sports car and in the past 2 seasons coming into IndyCar just to compete here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Kelly, I'm sure he is overjoyed with his driver's start to this Indy Grand Prix.
Well, it's been a dream start to the weekend, hasn't it? And as we were watching those replays of the start, you guys were focused on the back of the grid. Michael Shank, team owner there for Jack Harvey, watching action up front. What did you make of the move Jack put out there to grab second?
Well, a couple things. It's starting to sprinkle now, so that's going to change everything. Really proud of the AutoNation Series XM Honda. Jack had a great start, but to be honest with you, it's going just to plan. Super happy how he's driving. I'm telling you, this is going to get interesting, folks. When this rain comes, I don't know what to expect.
Well, are you doing your rain dance? I mean, are you hoping for this?
No, I'm doing the non-rain dance. Our car's good in the dry. But, you know, Jack's English. He's like a fish. So hopefully, I don't know, we'll be good either way. But just know this, Jack's never been in the car in the rain, ever.
Wow.
So.
All right, well, we look forward to that if it happens. And this team has been elated all weekend, starting with that third place qualifying effort, and then listen to the radio at the start of this one.
Guys,
good job, my man. Focus forward. Focus forward.
Guys, I wonder if anybody anticipated.
So far, sticking to the plan we set up. All good. Go forward. Great job, Jack. Remember your bars. We saw you move them a little, but you got some tools there to play with.
I'm wondering if any of these guys anticipated this rain coming and have kind of gone to a hybrid rain setup, stood up the cambers and toes a little bit, tried to get ready for this to come. Because if it comes, look at it, there we go.
Marcus Ericsson, turn 14, the last turn on this track. He's gone skidding across the grass and into the wall.
You're right there, bud.
That's a big hit.
Yeah, it's a fast corner onto the front straightaway.
Yeah, I'm okay.
It's a flat-out corner.
That's a big hit. We've seen moments. Alexander Rossi in practice, Scott Dixon. We've seen moments of guys getting loose there, and I can only wonder if just a tickle of moisture made the difference there to put Ericsson into the wall.
So this is the last corner. He just got loose right away. Lost it all the way across the grass, all the way across the speedway.
Whatever the car was in front of him, I think it might have been Will Power, it got loose as well, was able to regain control. Ericsson did not, and his race ends now. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by the all-new Chevy Silverado, the strongest, most advanced Silverado ever. And by NTT, official sponsor and technology partner of the NTT IndyCar Series. The JW Marriott Hotel downtown with that huge sign on it. Looks fantastic. You can see it from so far away when you leave the speedway and head back into downtown Indy as the field. Just crawling under the first full course yellow. Crash suffered by Marcus Ericsson in the Arrow Schmidt Peterson Honda. And this is what Marty was alluding to earlier about the rain. There's already been some sprinkles. You heard Mike Shank mention it to Kelly. That's what it looks like right now.
And that's about 1 hour covering that distance. So you got to think in the next probably 30 minutes, Marty, we're going to be seeing some real raindrops.
And I tell you, Townsend, if it was a dry racetrack here at lap 12 for those teams that started on primary tires like Joseph Newgarden, this would be perfect. It would lay out perfectly for you to come down pit road now, put on those red tires, run the rest of the race like that. But because of that rain, number one, if you pitted now, you would have to start behind everybody else. But number two, when that rain hits, you're going to have to come to pit road to put on rain tires. So all the teams that started on primaries, number one, took a gamble that the rain would not come until later in the race. But number two, now can't really pit because that rain is coming, and the rain tires will need to be used once that rain hits. Pits will open this time. We'll see if there are any takers, but pretty big gamble if you do come to pit road.
Damaged car rolling down pit lane, back suspension broke, no front wing now, but they're going to try and fix that thing.
I am shocked based on that amount of impact that Ericsson would even consider that he could make it out. But I love the never say die attitude here. Looking at that right rear suspension, it's a lot of damage. It broke the whole upright off of the top mounting post there. You know, they say there's two kinds of drivers in Indy, those that have hit the wall and those that will. And I bet Ericsson didn't think that his first oval crash was going to come during the Grand Prix.
During the Grand Prix, exactly. Fortunately, as you may have noticed, he did make contact with the safer barrier. Let's go down to the pits. Here's Kev.
So many of those that started on the primaries wanted to get off. James Hinchcliffe is in, Ryan Hunter-Reay, same situation. They were being told, just hang on when we get him, when we go to reds. And that's what James Hinchcliffe is doing now. Sticker reds. He's got another set to come, Marty.
Joseph Newgarden coming to pit road. You see the big wing adjustment. They know the rain is coming, but they wanted those red tires on him leaving pit road. When Tim Cindric called him down, he said, hey, no one else came in front of us. He said, I know. Let's just get on these red tires, see what happens. So Townsend, you're going to be behind a lot of traffic, but you got those quicker red tires. How do you play the game for the championship leader now?
You absolutely push hard right now for Newgarden and Hinch. All these guys on fresh reds make track position, and then if the rain comes, everybody's going to have to pit anyways. It's probably worth the risk.
And as we thought, the day is done for Marcus Ericsson in the Arrow Schmidt-Peterson team. Tough one for his first one at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The former F1 driver so excited about the months of May. He's got a countryman in this race. Fellow Swede is Felix Rosenqvist, and he had left the field behind. First pole position yesterday. Could he get his first win today? Field packed up, and the wounded car of Marcus Ericsson, as you saw, back on pit lane, and we go back racing. It's time to bring the action at the Brickyard. Felix Rosenqvist leads the way. Jack Harvey defends from Scott Dixon, but he may not have a choice as Dixon blows by into second place.
Dixon might get the lead.
He's in there.
Oh, Rosenqvist
locked up
on the kitty litter.
Way wide. There goes Dixon.
Hard
goes
spun.
around.
Wow, that is the trademark of a 5-time champion. And Helio Castro Neves is caught up in this turn 1 incident as well.
I think that might be Hunter-Reay. I think Hunter-Reay clipped the stalled car of Colton Herta. And Paul, I can't believe how much dust came up from that kitty drive from 2 days ago.
It's been there all weekend. And Scott Dixon, they're full course yellow, so Scott Dixon got a beautiful restart, perfect double draft off of Harvey. Harvey defended to block, and then he was able to suck right up behind his teammate and get in there. Rosenqvist went super late on the brakes, locked it up, and just opened the door wide open for Dixon.
I'll bet Rosenqvist is just in a state of shock right now.
I said earlier today off air, this will be one of the, if not the greatest test of Felix Rosenqvist's career. Starting alongside a 5-time champion at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and see how you go. Well, he just found out the reason why Scott Dixon is a 5-time champion right there.
No push to pass. Scott Dixon had an amazing run down the front straightaway. I couldn't believe the speed, but you can see Rosenqvist locked up there. Colton Herta gets clipped by Ed Jones.
Well, I think he made contact with Harvey as well. Harvey turned in on him. He was there at the curb, and then we see.
That was Hinch that hit. That was James Hinchcliffe that hit Ryan Hunter-Reay, Paul.
Then Hunter-Reay spins and then goes into Colton Herta. Poor Colton Herta's thinking, I'm a pinball today.
Watch behind here if we can see Harvey at the apex right here. Boom. Just chops off Colton Herta and spins him around.
Now here's the question, was all the white smoke purely tire smoke from Rosenqvist, or was it some of that oil drag?
Watch Herta, the green car at the apex. Harvey just turns in right there. They make contact.
I'd say a healthy amount of that smoke was the lockup.
Yeah.
There's James Hinchcliffe into Ryan Hunter-Reay, into Colton Herta. This is what it looked like from Hinchcliffe's view.
Pretty far back. Oh, he's completely locked up. He might get a drive-through for that as well.
I think that's
an
the same
avoidable
issue.
Contact.
Same issue that Rosenqvist had getting on that oil drive again from 3 days ago and locking the front tires.
He's RHR. He won't know what hit him.
Yeah, he had plenty of gap. And that might be a drive-through penalty for Hinchcliffe for avoidable contact, because he was nowhere close in the brake zone and had it all locked up.
Right, Hunter-Reay has had a miserable weekend this weekend, being ill, and then that just makes it even worse. And understandably, that incident is under review from race control. We've just been given the word. James Hinchcliffe in the middle of that, and his teammate in the middle of the wall. Here's Marcus Ericsson with Kelly.
Yeah, after he brought out that first caution, he was really optimistically going into the weekend. I know this is disappointing for you, Marcus, but what exactly happened?
Yeah, we were struggling a bit to get close in this race. I was just trying to be as close as possible through 14 to power, and I think I just got a bit too close, lost a bit of front downforce, understeer, and then snapped into oversteer, and I just couldn't catch it.
All right, well, this is just the start of the bigger picture here at the month of May. How do you put this behind you and move ahead looking to the 500?
Nah, I mean, we picked the positives from yesterday. I think that was a very positive day, and then obviously we need to put this behind us, but there was a lot of positives yesterday, and we bring that with us to next week.
Thank you, Marcus. Lee.
That is a shame because he did have a very good qualifying session, and he's driven well this year. He's had a little bit of misfortune, and that was tough. He was just trying to hang in there, as he said, trying to stay with willpower to get a draft down the front straight, and it all got away from him. And the lead got away from Felix Rosenqvist as well, with his teammate Scott Dixon getting by. This is setting up for a fantastic arm wrestle between the Ganassi teammates. How about for Graham Rahal? This is how it looked going into turn 1.
The 98th running of the Indianapolis 500. The green flag is waving. Castro Neves. Can he hold on to position? Oh, my goodness. Wow. He made it. He did it. What a gutsy move by Ryan Hunter-Reay. They're coming to the line, and Ryan Hunter-Reay did it. He did it.
What a pass that was. You can see that forever. And that was nice to go with his 2012 championship as well, Ryan Hunter-Reay. But he's been in the wars so far here today in the middle of something that he didn't create. So it's a tough break for Ryan Hunter-Reay.
A little bit of moisture on that lens.
Four now, go to wheel 4.
So a reminder that we've got a big event coming up. Tom Hanks is joining Savannah Guthrie to co-host an hour of the Today Show right here in Indianapolis. They're celebrating military caregivers and sharing stories of our nation's hidden heroes. Plus there'll be a special concert from Sheryl Crow. It's all live here from the Brickyard. That's Thursday, May 23rd, only on Today. Can't wait. Can't wait to see the green here in Norkin. Scott Dixon ready to go, and he's gone. Dixon leaves his teammate behind.
Look at Ed Jones with a big run on Harvey and Rosenqvist. Here comes Harvey back in the draft. That dark blue car of Ed Jones looking up the inside.
He's got the double draft going. There's water on the camera lens. A nice move down the inside, but Harvey challenges from the outside but runs out of space. And Rosenqvist falls back to 4th.
Everybody tiptoeing down there with a little bit of moisture starting to fall. It's going to get heavier. We expect rain in the next hour.
Look at Pagenaud.
Here comes the two-time winner, Simon Pagenaud, in that Day-Glow car. And so too, Takuma Sato in the MyJack entry. He's up in the mix.
Oh, this is
Graham Rahal looking big.
3 wide.
Good job.
Good work, Graham Rahal. Spencer Pickett's in there as well. And guys, just got a note from race control. James Hinchcliffe will get a drive-through for avoidable contact with Ryan Hunter-Reay.
That's a pretty straightforward call. A tough day for the Schmidt-Peterson team.
Bigger drops on the camera lens, so the rain is starting to fall. These guys are slipping and sliding. Tires are not up to temp. There's Rossi back there, but he's several laps down.
But if I'm Scott Dixon, I'm going to look at my mirror and think, I don't want any part of the action. Here comes Hinchcliffe to pit lane to serve his penalty. I don't think Dixon wants to do anything except check out away from all the chaos that's starting to develop back there.
Got a run right here on Pagenaud. Watch for the pop-out.
Ed Jones has gained ground on race leader Scott Dixon. Spencer Piggott on the inside of Simon Pagenaud.
There's Will Power making a move on Sebastian Bourdais.
Will Power's not making any moves. He's gone from 6th, and he's falling all the way back now to...
No! Santino Ferrucci, the American rookie.
Clear.
Trying to get through.
Oh! He's getting slick. He's on the push to pass.
Everybody loose through that fast chicane. You can see Powers on the button. Here comes Castro Neves. And now Castro Neves will challenge his teammate.
From sports cars to IndyCar for the next 3 weekends for Helio Castro Neves as he begins his search of a 4th Indianapolis 500 win.
Think about this. Will Power started in the Fast 6, and now he's going to have his teammate right here who started 16th all over the back of him.
Power is loose. He is sliding everywhere around this track.
Marty?
Hey, Lee, you guys have mentioned it. You see the raindrops on our cameras and also the lenses of these onboard cameras as well for these cars. It is raining. I would describe it as hard enough for an umbrella, but clearly not hard enough on the racetrack for rain tires quite yet. So how do you manage that, Townsend, knowing there's heavier rain coming as someone goes off the track? Right there, Takuma Sato off the track, knowing the heavier rain's coming, and those rain tires are coming as well. How do you manage it right now?
Will's coming inside.
That grass
is clear.
The grass is wet. He nearly lost it getting back on the track, but this track right now is getting treacherous, Townsend.
Well, all these guys know you cannot put rain tires on until you start to see some spray. If you put them on too early, you will destroy the soft treads of the rain tire, and then you'll be nowhere once it actually goes full wet.
Santino Ferrucci on Will Power. What a move from the rookie.
Two abreast through the chicane. There's only room for one car. Now Will Power's under threat from his teammate. He blocks him off right there big time. He goes for the outside. He has to back it off right here.
And this is where it gets really tricky. You come off of that new sealed pavement, that penetrant they're calling it, and this is the trickiest corner on the track right now, this fast sweeper where Ericsson lost it earlier.
While all this is going on down in 12th and 13th and 14th place, Ed Jones for Scuderia Corsa and Ed Carpenter Racing is within half a second of Scott Dixon. What a run as Newgarden tries to fend off this challenge from Zach Veach.
Veach, nice move around the outside. These guys at the back are really running hard. Will Power really loose coming off the corner. Veach now closing in on him quickly.
What a contrast within 12 months for Will Power. He dominated this race last year.
He's got to run.
And he is just trying to hang in there. He's struggling in 12th, started 6th.
Just looking at push to pass, Zach Veach has already burned more than half, 80 seconds left. Simon Pagenaud, 75 seconds left. So a lot of guys on the button early trying to make track position.
You get 200 seconds of the push to pass. Gives you about 60 extra horsepower. And you can use that in as much as 20-second bursts.
Here comes another front straightaway. It kind of, you get a little bit of a break, and then you know everybody here in this group is going to be pushing on the button down the long front straight. Here comes Veach with a really good run.
This is Simon Pagenaud side by side with Sebastien Bourdais, the two French drivers, down into turn 1. Meanwhile, back in the pack, here we go, 3 wide almost, heading down into 1. Power. And then Zach Veach, then Joseph Newgarden. Pato O'Ward making a move further back.
He gets by Alexander Rossi, but Rossi's 4 laps down after that contact on the start, and Veach is just giving Power all kinds of trouble.
He's filling his mirrors, looking for an over-under. He's trying to square him up as he gets another nice little run, but he's under a lot of pressure from Newgarden as well.
What a bizarre day, huh? The championship leader, Joseph Newgarden, in 14th place. He has not finished any worse than 4th this year, Marty.
Will Power struggling in front of him, his teammate. They think they have some front wing damage. The team furiously trying to get some pictures of that front wing as best they can. They in fact think that Joseph Newgarden will go by him in a moment, and they told Newgarden, hey, when you go by Power, look at that front wing. We can't get a definitive picture of it. We don't know if it's damaged or not. For Joseph Newgarden, they started on the primary tires. If it would be a dry day, they would run reds for the rest of the day. They've gained some ground since they came down pit road. Meanwhile, Ed Jones up in 2nd place. Here's some radio from that team.
Give me Powell, I want to get him. No, stay off the overtake.
25 laps in, a lot of cars going to have to think about pitting really soon. And with rain, there you go, rain on the way. I can't think that anybody could justify going to wets right now. You have to stay on slicks.
Jones did a lot of this as when he was teammates with Scott Dixon, followed him, chased him, helped him, so he knows what he needs to do. He knows he has pace to stay with him. But this is a great view here from Rosenquist on the restart. That double draft, look at that, as Jones slides down the inside. Perfect pass.
And good driving from Jack Harvey too. Gave Rosenquist a little room. There was a little bit of a nudge there. This is Graham Rahal on Simon Pagenaud.
Contact right there. Lucky he didn't break the wing.
3 wide, outside.
Break the wing or cut the tire of Simon Pagenaud. That was close as they come to cut pit lane, Kelly.
Yeah, now we see some of those early pit stops beginning. That is Jack Harvey. He's going with slick red tires. This is Ed Jones ahead of him. Those are scuffed red tires. The rain has lessened ever so slightly, so these guys are back on those red alternate tires.
Something happened with Harvey there where they jacked his car back up right at the end as O'Ward battling Veach. That's close.
Slick red tires are going to be really hard to get up to temperature. I think the way to go, a lot of guys scrub tires, so you got a little bit of that shine off the tires. Pato gets by Veach. I don't know what happened to Veach. He was running with power, and all of a sudden he's not with them anymore, so I don't know if he had another off.
Powers dropped even further back. Veach is 11th, though Ward made that move for 10th. And Newgarden has jumped up as well into 9th at the moment.
Now earlier we speculated about the strategies of cars like Newgarden and O'Ward. Here's Castro Neves on pit lane.
And he's got Roger Penske, the captain, calling the shots for him this weekend. This is all just preparation for the Indy 500 for Helio Castroneves. And you see he's staying with those red alternate tires.
I was just going to say, if rain comes a little later, could be great for Newgarden. Yeah. Because he pitted under that yellow.
He got beat out by his teammate Will Power right there. So Will Power's gone now from 6th all the way down to the back of the field. Here he's pitting now, Marty.
Yeah, just plummeting through the field for Will Power. Some Speedway fuel going in the car along with fresh Firestone red tires. This is the dilemma for these teams. This is the end of their fuel window. It is sort of sprinkling, but not sprinkling hard enough for rain tires to come on. They do think that at the end of the cycle, though, that's when they'll need the rain tires. Leader Scott Dixon coming down pit road. So interesting for all these guys. Even though it's raining here at the Speedway, they're going with tires that are slicks. They're going with these red tires on for Scott Dixon, which will be what he gets when he comes down pit road.
Should make mention too that as we get ready for these stops, Kev Colton Herter is out of the race.
And Felix Rosenquist, the pole sitter, is in for a pit stop. He's going to take fresh Firestones. This is a scuffed set of red, so nobody's willing to go to the rain tires yet. People have been thinking about it, but there's not enough moisture at this point. Also, Speedway fuel, Rosenquist is back out. Marco Andretti also, same scenario, not ready for the rains. He's going to the alternates and is in.
So look to the right. Dixon is well out ahead of Ed Jones. Here comes, this is going to be close between Rosenquist, Jones, and Harvey. Rosenquist on the right, so Jones will get by as Andretti leaves. Where did Jack Harvey go in relation to the exiting Felix Rosenquist behind?
Very difficult for Rosenquist to hold off Harvey because of the cool track conditions. Rosenquist on cold tires. Harvey will have a run right here.
Harvey's on hot tires now. He's over that line. They said you cannot go over that line. Was he forced there or not? But they said emphatically in our competition meeting, you do not go over that white line.
I think you gotta let that go. Harvey was making a move and keeping it safe, keeping enough margin there. So I don't think that's a big deal. Harvey had an easy run. You can see how quickly he's pulling away from Rosenquist.
What a run from Jack Harvey. He's from Lincolnshire in Northern England and racing at the Brickyard, doing a phenomenal job. Marty?
Oh, it's been an eventful few laps for Graham Rahal. We saw the replay a moment ago, and then he said right before he came to pit road, the car got crazy loose on him, putting on those sticker Firestone tires, the alternate tires, and you can see that rain on the windshield. To Paul's point, it's tough when it's raining like that, and here was one of Graham's issues a moment ago, and that car was loose. Look at that.
Looking left, but he's got to keep an eye to the right as he just dropped his right side tires into the grass, and it cost him there at the exit.
Yeah, that all started from the brake zone right here. He dipped a wheel off. He was probably looking in the mirror at Bourdais and just lost track of where he was. And then it all started in the brake zone right there and ran wide on the exit.
Teammates together on track as more raindrops are appearing on our various camera lenses here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Huge break, as I said earlier, for Newgarden Award. This is a 3-stop race, and they've all made one stop now, and Joseph Newgarden legitimately leading by coming in early. And if for some reason it doesn't rain at all and they have to go to wets, he's already run the harder primary tire, so he's in a really good spot.
And think about this, Award got a drive-through for that contact with Rossi and went off strategy right away. So he's kind of played himself into the mix here.
And to really mix things up, Max Chilton is also there, also pitted on lap 13. Matthias Laced in 4th. So things are basically level set now. If it were to rain, all these cars would come in at the same time for wets. And a bunch of cars that we never thought we'd be talking about much today are factoring heavily into the top 3. On board with Chilton, and Paul, you can tell that he's pretty gingerly entering the corners, rolling on the brake pedal, because it is slick out there.
Ginger wasn't the word. He had a complete opposite lock there.
How hard will it rain? Will it keep coming? And how well will these guys be placed? So much to play for. Approaching halfway. There's nothing like playoff hockey, and the battle for a spot in the Stanley Cup final begins on the West Coast as the Blues face off against the Sharks in San Jose. That's game 1 of the Western Conference Finals tonight at 8 right here on NBC. As we welcome you back, Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell, Paul Tracy, and the whole IndyCar on NBC Sports team here in Indianapolis for the Grand Prix of Indianapolis. This is the most recent race winner in the series, Alexander Rossi, who also won the 100th running of the Indy 500. He's having a tough day. He is down in 28th position.
This is
Make that
disastrous.
22nd, pardon me, 22nd position. And this is what happened, Paul, right at the start of the race.
Yeah, it's disastrous. Like when you qualify at the back, you're in the danger zone in terms of guys running into you, and no fault of his own. He got drilled from behind, knocked into the wall, suspension damaged, and this is really bad news for the championship.
And the guy that ran into Alexander Rossi, Pato O'Ward, had to serve a drive-through on a long pit lane, and now Pato O'Ward is second by virtue of well-timed pit stop strategy. And there's a move up front with Hinchcliffe getting around. Who was that? Laced.
Laced. That's it. I was going to say another driver who got a penalty is James Hinchcliffe. He did a drive-through, and now he just passes Laced for 4th.
Now you see Rossi entering the mix, and for Rossi, all you can do is just try to run strong but smart and collect points if anybody else falls out. There you see the last pit stop lap number. About 25 miles, or sorry, 25 laps is about fuel range, 26, 27 if you really want to stretch it and save fuel. So I think for a lot of the cars like Dixon, you'll see them around lap 40 coming in.
So there's a lot of talk about strategy and how this will play out. You see there Joseph Newgarden pitted on lap 13 of this 85-lap race. Let's have a listen to some Newgarden radio.
Award's in the same boat you are. You need to work on your fuel. Just work on your fuel right now.
That's the voice of Tim Cindric, team president at Team Penske. And with a Chevrolet leading this Grand Prix of Indianapolis, let's have a Chevy driver update. And there he is, the championship leader. He's had 3 podiums and a 4th. He's had a race win within the first 4 races of the year, leading by 28 points coming in to this round of the championship. And he's up front at the moment. Could this be what would be a whopping turnaround, Marty? Incredible.
Could be, Lee. It would be an incredible turnaround. You're right. Joseph Newgarden starting in the back today, hoping he can pull off the win after starting 13th. In reference to that radio, that was Joseph Newgarden doing what everybody on pit road right now is doing, trying to play weatherman. And Tim Cindric said, hey, work on your fuel. Don't worry about the weather. I'll worry about the weather. But here's the dilemma for these teams that stopped at lap 13 and 14 that we saw a moment ago. The rain, yes, is picking up, but they have to pit in the next 5 to 6 laps or so. So that really puts them in a little bit of a box. Do you come down, you put on slicks, or does the rain get here quick enough for you to put on rain tires? So that's the dilemma for all these guys who stop. They're going to have to come fuel-wise no matter what. Thus the reminder, work on your fuel, save as much as you can. But it's tough, guys, because it's legit raining down here, but not hard enough for those rain tires.
So take us inside your world. It's umbrella time for the fans, or you can just still, it's not hard enough just yet?
my world, Diff, it's umbrella time for the fans. All the ones around us, we're using the umbrella right now, and it seems to be picking up. But you know you got to come in 4 or 5 laps. You see Alexander Rossi coming down pit road after his contact earlier. So you know you got to come in those 4 or 5 laps. You're just hoping the rain beats it, and you have to get on rain tires like everybody else, on an even playing field.
Not entirely sure why Rossi would pit right there.
Well, he probably had to based on where he was at. He's not in the sequence with anybody.
Yeah,
so
he last pit on lap 31, so he's only been out for 4 or 5 laps. I would think maybe they'd gamble and put rain tires on now and hope for some miracle there. But a great point, Marty. If I'm Joseph Newgarden, I'm hoping it starts raining now so it doesn't happen after my next slick tire pit stop.
All right, we see this great battle, and the focus for both these teams has been turns 12 and 13. Jack Harvey's group telling them back up turn 12, really focus on 13, especially on that exit speed, that initial throttle out of 13. They feel like that's his best spot to overtake Ed Jones, and Ed Jones ahead in that blue car. They've told him to be extra clean through 12 and 13. Great battles.
Dixon gets around Laced. Laced is out of sequence to Dixon in terms of the pit stop strategy. That was a nice clean pass. It's good to see the AJ Foyt car running up front. They've had such a really tough year this year in terms of performance. So Lace just motoring along here. He's got a nice gap. What he should do right now is just sit on the back of Dixon and try to just hook a line to him and just hang on there.
There you see the weather. Just starting to loom. It's breaking up a little bit out by the 465 freeway, but it seems undeniable. We'll see some heavy moisture as Harvey continues to battle it out there with Ed Jones.
These guys are just, Harvey's really good in the first sector of the track down into the end of the back straightaway, but it seems as though Ed gets away through these corners a little bit right here.
I wonder if Jones just thought, okay, I'm going to take more downforce for this race, and Harvey's a little more trimmed out, faster down the straightaway, but slower through that infield section.
Great run from Spencer Pigot, who's the car in front of Simon Pagenaud. That bright yellow machine right
Look
there.
At this. Push to pass on Pigot. He's going to have a run right here. See that green light on the roll hoop? He's sucking up in the draft. He's popping out here.
Problem is he has push to pass, and so does Rosenqvist and every other car in this field. So if you're under attack, you're going to defend by pushing the button also. That's Max Chilton down and away, going out on slick red tires.
Harvey's got a good run right here. He came off the corner pretty good right there.
Started the year with 2 10th place finishes.
Heads up with this traffic.
Here comes Pagenaud. Pagenaud's going to make a move here on Pigot. Goes to the outside.
Pigot defends, and defends well, making life hard for the 2-time winner here at the Grand Prix of Indianapolis, Simon Pagenaud, who had one of his best qualifyings of the year, starting to turn things around slowly for the 22 Menards team. There has been some intense racing today already, and we are not quite halfway through this race just yet, with more severe weather on the way. Kev?
So remember when Patricio O'Ward got the drive-through for the contact with Alexander Rossi at the start, you thought, well, maybe his day is done, but he's back in a similar strategy window here, taking Scuff Firestone Speedway fuel, and he can get home on one more stop. He may have to save a little bit, but it is possible for Patricio O'Ward. But keep in mind, when he had to save at Circuit of the America, didn't go very well. That's one of the tougher things, T-Bell, for a young driver to be able to do.
It is. Now, Newgarden O'Ward kind of had the advantage going, but it's negated now with the pit stop. Now it's Scott Dixon in the catbird seat because Newgarden's going to have to come to pit lane here pretty soon, and Dixon's on the other strategy, and he can go longer now and wait for the rain.
And Laced has now backed up into this group. He wasn't able to hang on to the back as Pigot runs Rosenqvist off the track, and Pagenaud gets by, so Laced has lost the position. Harvey's got to get by him right away if he's going to stay in contact with the car in front of him.
There comes Newgarden. Marty, what sort of tires are they going to go with?
Used reds for Joseph Newgarden coming down pit road right now, and actually the lap before, Tim Cindric, when he saw O'Ward pit, he said use your push to pass, use some overtake, get as much of a gap as you can. So they are going to go with the used reds, and again, the rain still coming, Kevin. And I asked Alexander Rossi's team why they pitted there. Very interesting. They said we wanted to get out of Scott Dixon's way, Kevin.
I really think the rain has lightened a little bit. I'm not feeling any drops for the moment. And like O'Ward, Hinchcliffe started started way in the back, and that drive-through for the contact with Hunter Ray may have helped him. He cycled up, and he can also get home in one more as we see Mateus laced in and back out.
So now things have reset. Now Scott Dixon, who led early in the race, Ed Jones and Jack Harvey, they're now the top 3 cars. They're in a good spot as long as the rain comes now.
Yes.
If it doesn't, then they'll have to pit for slicks again, and it'll revert back to Newgarden and O'Ward with the advantage. So it's all about when the weather comes. And if it comes.
Racing lap 40 of 85, almost at the halfway point. And Scott Dixon has led 11 laps thus far. Weather was always going to be a threat today. We knew it was going to be competitive with a jumbled up grid, and it has delivered everything we thought it would so far. And still, the second half of the race to come here on NBC. So this is weekend number 1 of 3 weekends here at the Brickyard, but it of course is all leading up to the 103rd running of the Indianapolis 500. Qualifying is next weekend. Join us Saturday on NBCSN at 5 o'clock Eastern and Sunday at noon to 3 here on NBC, and then 3 to 6 on NBCSN. It's the full weekend of qualifying covered with that kind of amended format on Sunday to determine the Fast 9 and the pole sitter, and also who will get bumped, who's going to make the 33. All part of a wonderful month of May, and it all kicks off here. Can't ignore this event either, the Indy Grand Prix, the 6th year this event has been run, and it's a proper full points round in the NTT IndyCar Series as Ryan Hunter-Reay comes to pit lane. Hunter-Reay got bounced right at the first corner, Kev, and he's been playing catch-up ever since.
Yeah, they've been hoping for a caution. Ray Gosselin has just been coaching him on the radio. Keep after we get the caution. We can be back in it. Talking with Ray before this race with the uncertainty, he said this is one of the most difficult strategy races to call, Kelly.
Yeah, Ed Jones also on pit road. Those are scrubbed red Firestone alternate tires they went with. He had lost a couple positions, and he just decided it was time to come in, Kev.
And there's a fire for Felix Rosenqvist as he releases. They'll keep going because that's the best way to put it out. But it's still blowing on pit lane. They'll extinguish it on pit lane. They told him to keep going. That's always the protocol. If there's a fire in the car, speed off, and the wind resistance will extinguish that. But scary moment here on pit lane for Felix Rosenqvist.
And Ed Jones was just saying he had an issue on the left rear. I'm hearing it's the camber shims. He thought maybe he had a puncture, so keep an eye on that left rear on Ed Jones.
We're missing what's going on out front. Dixon had a 6-7 second lead, and it's now down to 1.7. Harvey is flying as we look at Ed Jones right now, who had an issue. But Harvey has closed the gap big time on the leader.
Let's take one more look at that scary moment for Felix Rosenqvist on pit lane.
Huge fuel leak as the probe came out. Not sure if the Buckeye was caught open or if the probe was stuck.
Yeah, that was a lot of fuel came out of the Buckeye. It was all over the bodywork, spilled into the header area, and that's what lit it off. Those vents,
it'll blow out.
Those black vents right there is what is some air vent for the headers. But look at this, as we go back to the leader, there is Jack Harvey right there closing the gap. He has closed that down by a second a lap.
What a performance. 26-year-old British driver who has seen victory here and success in Indy Lights, but he has never had a race like this at the front of his already young IndyCar career. This is fantastic.
And what a day for Simon Pagenaud, who needs a result this season, is now catching to the back of Harvey. As Harvey is catching the dirty air from Scott Dixon, that's allowed Pagenaud to close up. So things are about to get very interesting.
Let's have a listen to some Harvey radio.
Great job, my man. You're quicker than the leader. Just ease up to him.
Last lap for Dixon was a 1:12.2. Harvey was a 1:11.4. So nearly a second a lap quicker. Pagenaud was the quickest guy in the field right now at 11.0 on that last lap. So these guys are, look at the gap now. He's on him.
Looking at the push to pass remaining, 112 seconds for Dixon, 73 for Jack Harvey. There are still 39 laps to go in this race, so Harvey has to consider carefully how to use the button.
This is a huge confidence builder for Harvey to chase a guy down like Scott Dixon. When he gets there, he's going to have the confidence to try to make the move.
And there's one young driver who would dearly love to be out there, Kev, but he is no longer in this race. That's Colton Herter.
And he started next to Jack Harvey on the second row. So tell us what happened on the incident that put you out early in this race.
Honestly, not too sure. I don't know if I was a bit ambitious or he turned down on me. I haven't seen a replay yet, but for sure got it. It's been disappointing last 3 races for both me and the team, and I apologize to them if it was my fault, but yeah, disappointing. We might be able to get the car back out. That'd be nice. Get a little bit more read on it and maybe learn something. I don't know.
Colton Herta, one of the fastest this weekend, but unfortunately no result to show for it.
Yeah, and that is 3 in a row. So a couple of race-related incidents and then a mechanical as well has seen him suffer that. Meanwhile, at the front, there is nothing in this between Scott Dixon and Jack Harvey.
Fantastic battle up front, guys. Will Power, you hear him on pit road as Scott Dixon tries to hold on to the lead. It's been a struggle for Power, but that battle up front is fantastically.
Dixon, Harvey, and all on pit lane at Pagenaud. 3 different teams, 3 very different drivers and personalities having a phenomenal scrap at the front of this race.
Pressure's on for the pit crews. The 2 biggest teams, Ganassi and Penske, versus one of the smallest teams.
The Meyer Shank car is there first.
You see Simon Pagenaud, Jack Harvey on pit road there as well. Simon Pagenaud coming down pit road. He was fantastic at the end of that run, quicker than all the cars in front of him. He wanted no changes. You see those red tires going on. Scott Dixon said the reason he lost so much of his gap, the rear tires went away so hard. And here's the race off pit road. Dixon will be able to keep the spot in the lead, but Simon Pagenaud jumps from 3rd to 2nd. Going to be very slick on these new tires, and the rain's still coming down too.
How about Team Penske? There was a little bobble on the left rear, but they still beat out Jack Harvey. So huge day for Pagenaud, still developing. And now Harvey's going to come under fire from, I think that's Max Chilton.
Look at the experience of these guys out front. Series champions right here, and they're gapping Harvey on cold tires as Chilton now is getting a run on Harvey. Will Harvey defend? He does. Down the inside, he blocks the inside.
Look around the outside here.
A couple of Brits here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway going at it. Former F1 driver Max Chilton.
Harvey doing a really nice job to keep it tidy. So difficult to build tire temperature on the outlap. Chilton has probably one more chance here. He's slowing up. It's almost like he's coming to pit lane or saving gas.
Pit lane this time, probably.
A little bit of margin if you can get a position. We've got a little margin if you can get a position.
What a run from Simon Pagenaud, chasing down Scott Dixon now, because spoke to Simon earlier in the weekend as we ride with Max Chilton, but Pagenaud said, I love this place, I love this race, and he just seemed like the Simon of old was back.
And
he's
right
had a rough start to the season, but here he comes now, putting pressure on the 5-time champ.
He is right there, and Scott Dixon knows that he is not a threat to him in the championship. If Simon makes a big lunge or a big move, we know Scott Dixon is smart. He plays the long game as he's gapped him a little bit now, but I don't think Dixon's going to really get into a wheel-to-wheel battle with a guy he's not fighting in the championship.
So now up front, you've got Rahal, Bourdais, and Sato all on the same pit strategy. Last pitted on lap 28, so we might see them in the next few laps. Now they would be praying for rain, hoping that they could all come to pit lane together and they would keep the track position.
I wonder if we can get a report from the Ganassi team. Did Dixon wear those rear tires out? Because they really chased him down from a long way away.
If this has felt busy today and fun, it's because it has been. Last year there were 214 passes in the race, period. there was 145 before we even got to halfway here today.
Well, and with the question of weather and these alternate strategies, it just keeps flip-flopping who has the advantage based on when they pit.
So right now we're looking at these guys, but the leaders on track are Rahal, Bourdais, Sato, then Newgarden because of pit strategy.
How much will the weather factor in? We're looking skyward, and we're looking for those drops on the lenses. We'll update you when we come back. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Honda, an official vehicle of the NTT IndyCar Series. And by United Rentals, official equipment rental services provider of IndyCar. Join the race to help veterans at turnsfortroops.com.
Sebastian Bourdais is in for his stop from the lead. He started 10th, so he's a little bit off sequence, and he will need one more stop. Craig Hampson, his engineer, warned him it might be slick when you come in. What a strange day. It's been threatening rain all day. It's just been sprinkling, so we're all still on the regular dry Firestones.
And Bourdais been racing Rahal. There goes Rahal blowing by. Bourdais going down in turn 1, but Rahal should have the advantage on that strategy. And he does.
So Joseph Newgarden cycles to the top for Team Penske over Pato O'Ward and James Hinchcliffe. 3 different teams in the top 3, but again, you've got to split this field because the top 3 are together, and then you've got Dixon, Pagenaud, Harvey are together on their strategy, and then it's kind of jumbled a little.
Well, but now it's even because I believe Newgarden, O'Ward, and Hinchcliffe can all make it on one more stop. Dixon, Pagenaud, Harvey all need one more stop as well. So I think Newgarden right now is sitting pretty.
He is sitting pretty if it starts to rain harder and it rains enough that they need to go to wets, but it all is going to depend on where this rainfall comes, and if it doesn't, where it all cycles out in the final 20 laps.
If it doesn't rain, I think Newgarden, O'Ward, and Hinchcliffe are all on the podium as they run right now. Question is, what happens to the pace over the long run on the tires? Because we saw earlier with Dixon, just because you're in front, you can really start to lose the balance, as Jack Harvey just ate up Scott Dixon on the last stint.
If Newgarden wins this race from where he started, that's a huge championship day.
How about Pato O'Ward if he ends up on the podium after a disastrous round of practice sessions, contact, a penalty, and to come back on the podium would justify why Red Bull seems so much in the young Mexican driver.
Not only that, the whole weekend, we saw him this morning after practice, and he didn't get any running at all. He's just had problems all weekend. He's done only 6 laps, he said, at speed the whole weekend. So he just threw his hands in the air and said, I don't know what else to do.
So what'll happen here is if Newgarden makes his last stop in the dry, he'll be hoping it doesn't rain.
Pit lane from half body in our pit box.
Speedway lap leaders on your screen. And Scott Dixon has led the most over Joseph Newgarden and Felix Rosenquist. Graham Rahal has led as well, and so too Sebastian Bourdais. So 5 Speedway lap leaders in total.
Was that Newgarden saying it's raining now?
It was, guys, and you see coming on pit road right now, Tony Kanaan. It is raining, and it's picked up quite a bit. They're going to rain tires for Tony Kanaan, Kelly.
All clear, all clear.
Yeah, they are. So that was a conversation between Tim Cindric and Joseph Newgarden. That was the conversation between them. It's getting spotty here on pit road. The rain is picking up. So same song, another verse, Townsend. If Joseph Newgarden gets the rain to come right now, man, what a gift for this 2 teams.
It will be, but you'd have to go 30 laps to the finish.
You can see the tracks now. It's really difficult to see the water on this dark pavement, but you can see it on the pit lane on the white concrete. So now you're starting to see tracks around the racetrack. So it is very slick right now.
These are really, really tricky conditions.
6 or 7 more laps.
Everybody's
so make it to the end on fuel.
Tim Cindric just told the story of the race. You've got to hang on in these conditions, however treacherous they may be, to make sure that when you stop, it's your last stop for fuel.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of Sebastian Bourdais and Craig Hampson at Barber Motorsports Park in Alabama last year, just trying to hang on, and in the end, the weather beat them. What's the story going to say today for Joseph Newgarden and his team Penske Chevrolet? How about Pato O'Ward and James Hinchcliffe? Two of these three guys have had penalties today.
Here's the thing, guys. We always talk about the danger zone. If somebody spins in these conditions and causes a red, the guy who pits first here is going to be really in the catbird seat.
Here is James Hinchcliffe. We saw his Arrow Schmidt-Peterson teammate Marcus Ericsson crash out early in the race. And Hinch is running third at the moment on this particular strategy.
We'll be keeping an eye, as will everybody on pit lane, on the lap times of Tony Kanaan as well. They went for the big gamble to go with rains this early. I'm afraid the pace is way too quick to justify wets. The question is, do they get lucky with a yellow?
It's much more wet, it looks like, down by here, by turns 1 and 2 in the short chute. That section of the track looks a lot more wet than it is up at this end of the track, which would be turns 4 and 3.
And guys, we're hearing a lot of drivers like Will Power saying it's too wet right now for slicks, and the rain has been steady and a little more significant for, I would say, a good 10 minutes. So PT and Townsend, how tough is it to be on slicks in conditions like this?
All they need to tell them is that Tony Kanaan on wets just went 30 seconds slower than the field on his outlap. So hang in there. That's how much you have left.
Kanaan has actually fitted wet tires and is way off the pace.
There you go.
Seconds.
Tony Kanaan, 20 seconds off the pace. So if I'm on slicks, I just took a deep breath and said, all right, I got a cowboy up here and hang on.
Yeah, hot, slick tires. It's not soaking wet yet, so it's very difficult to drive in the dry on a wet tire, because those cuts and grooves in the tire just makes the tire really squirmy, and you're kind of all over the place as he gets passed right there by O'Ward.
Well, and those grooves in the tire, Paul, as you know better than anyone, they build heat.
But look at Roosters.
Little bit of spray.
Little bit of spray coming off the back as he passes Marco. Look, there's a little bit of spray coming off the back of that car. Not a lot.
Picked up a bunch of marbles, though, offline, did Joseph Newgarden.
Marco Andretti does not want to yield, but he has to. He doesn't have a choice. Pato O'Ward is not too far back, and same for James Hinchcliffe. Scott Dixon on a different strategy, running in fourth.
You can see the line. Just look at, you can see like that white groove line in the track. So there is a little bit of a dry line, but off of that, it's damp.
So 28 to go. Last year, some cars went 27 laps, but on a maximum fuel save strategy.
They are right now about 6 seconds slower than what they were running before, but right now Kanaan
13 seconds.
13 seconds a lap slower, but Dixon was running 1:11s just a few laps ago.
That's about to change, though, because you can tell it is getting more and more wet on that track. And those slick lap times are going to fall off quickly if the moisture continues to come. Kelly?
And when Kanaan first put on those wet tires, they told him to take care of them until more water was on the track. Well, now Elio Castroneves there in the yellow Pennzoil car, the second one to follow that lead. He's now on wets.
Wow, you could hear him when he got off the pit lane speed limiter there. That really lit it up. You could hear the wheels spinning. When he spun, Elio spun on pit exit.
Now he has to try to get through the gravel. Luckily, the gravel's damp, which makes it a little easier, but no, the motor's not running.
I think he... oh, this is going to be hard for him to get out of there.
Stay on the power, son. Fire it up. Fire a rooster tail. It's like the Glamis Dunes. You know how to do that.
Go ahead.
He's going to get high-sided with no speed there. You'll end up getting high-sided on the edge of the track. The car will bottom out right there.
Here comes the yellow. This is going to be a full course yellow. And this is a big advantage for Newgarden.
Look at how frustrated Elio is. You could hear the wheels spinning as he got off the pit lane speed limiter, and as soon as he turned out of pit lane on pit exit, it just went broadside on him.
As he comes to the pit, so they're not going to wait for a yellow. They're all coming now.
They're in their pit window, so why not be the first one to make the last stop? What does Dixon do?
All right, I'm in.
No yellow yet.
Wet or dry? It's not wet yet. It's not wet enough yet, but it could come. I think we're... Right now, Dixon's got wet, we've got dry. Whatever you guys want.
Andretti is coming in. He's going to change to rain tires. Patricio Ward from second. He's got primary blacks. The rain still comes. As you heard, the general consensus is it's still not quite wet enough yet, Marty.
A call that could win or lose the race as Joseph Newgarden and Scott Dixon almost made contact leading. Newgarden said, I still think it's dry enough for slicks. They went with the red slicks. Scott Dixon at the front end of pit road. They went with rain tires as it starts to rain harder. Newgarden, the championship leader on slicks, Kelly.
Well, Marty, we saw Jack Harvey as well on a congested pit road. He came in, he put on the wet rain tires, and now Ed Jones following suit. Another one going to those Firestone rain tires.
Bourdais goes for slick. So, oh, another fire for Rosenquist. They must have a problem with the fuel rig there, because that's a big one.
And if the track wasn't wet enough, his rear tires will be now after all the fire extinguisher fluid, and there's still a flame going to burn off on the driver's right. So race control leaving Castro Neves out as we look at the fire
that's
again.
A big fire. So there's something, fire right out of the nozzle right there. So they need to fix that, change the hose or something. But now the pit stops are done. But that's 2 in a row as we look at Harvey going for rain tires.
It was
here.
close. It was close with Chilton. Check this out. Whoa, right across the front of Jack Harvey.
We've got a mixed bag, guys, of guys that went with rains and guys that went with slicks.
You could really feel the indecision in Tim Cindric's voice.
Yeah.
He knew that this was a complete crapshoot. Do you go for slicks or wets? Either side of this can be hung out to dry as Castro Neves gets going finally.
Here's the thing, when you're running and you're going, now you're on cold tires. When you got hot tires and it's wet, you can manage. But now that it's gone yellow, it's going to give the track that opportunity to get wet. As we see Castro Neves come out on the slicks, gassed it and just looped it right into the grass, and then he got it stuck. He was on cold rain tires.
Here's the problem though, Paul, is if you're on wets right now and it doesn't start to rain, those things are gonna burn up in a hurry. I'd give it 2 or 3 laps before everybody's really sliding around. You can see the rain lightly coming. Is it enough though for rain tires? I believe you really have to start to see some spray before it makes sense, especially because of how fast the final corner is here. That's almost like an oval corner. You're gonna build temperature and fry the rains very quickly if it's not wet.
Simon Pagenaud at the front of this field under the third, pardon me, full course caution. Back in a moment.
Race day, May 30, 1969. And here's the checkered flag for Mario Andretti, winner of the 1969 500-mile race.
Mario Andretti has joined us in victory lane. But Andy Granatelli gives the first kiss to Mario here today. Quite a race.
And for those of you who watched Drive Like Andretti a little earlier this afternoon, we really hope you enjoyed it. It is a fabulous film about the legend, Mario Andretti, celebrating 50 years since his Indianapolis 500 win. And it's been a special few years for Mario with his 1967 Daytona 500 win, the 50th anniversary of that just a couple of years ago as well. So as we welcome you back to the IndyCar Grand Prix of Indianapolis, under caution for the 3rd time with rain falling here on the speedway. Just how hard, and will it stick around until the end, and will that please the likes of Scott Dixon and Jack Harvey and Spencer Pigot, who went for those wet weather tires? So race leader is Simon Pagenaud. Let's give you some radio just a few moments ago.
We're leading right now. There's 61 laps complete, so we've got 24. So when we do stop here, it'll be our last stop. Right now we believe we need to go to wet because it's not going to get any lighter on rain. It's only going to get heavier.
And guys, also Townsend, and you know this, and so does PT, when you go slower like this, you lose the track quicker. Not only is it raining harder, but all the drivers saying they have lost the track as well. So the top 7 cars currently on slicks, so when pit road's open, they will come down pit road. But Townsend, you and I were saying, why not have come a lap earlier to jump everybody and know, hey, we're all going to rains eventually. You could have passed all these cars who are now going to come to pit road.
Well, pits are just open now. There comes Pagenaud. Looks like that's Graham Rahal. So all these guys on slicks are knowing now that really couldn't make the gamble. It's not going to work. And Scott Dixon's going to go to the front.
So James Hinchcliffe, Sebastian Bourdais, Santino Ferrucci, all coming in. Bourdais debated it just a moment ago. They decided on slicks. They guessed wrong. So here's Ferrucci coming in, going off the Firestone slick tires to the treaded rain tires. Marty?
Graham Ray Hall among those putting on the rain tires as well, and he was one of the holdouts saying, hey, I think slicks will still work, and sure enough, the rain has let up just a little bit. Also, championship leader Joseph Newgarden here on pit road with the rain tires. They had a tire that got away from them, and also his teammate Simon Pagenaud had trouble leaving his stall. Newgarden will lose a ton of spots here going to the rain tires.
I think that tire rolling away was Newgarden, so they're going to get a penalty for that as well.
Pagenaud had to check up to avoid hitting it, and Pagenaud lucked out that he was still able to come out in front of the queue. This is the overhead shot.
Watch this, guys. That tire just started rolling away right there, and that's going to be a drive-through penalty for Newgarden. So from the lead, now bad strategy call on tires, and now a penalty to go with it.
Oh boy.
This restart is going to be absolutely bonkers, and wait till we get to Indianapolis if this is a preview of what's going to happen. But under caution, we just heard that Sato on cold tires just coming around turn 3 just loses it on rain tires. So this track now is very wet.
"22 laps to go at the moment. And if today has been any indication so far, get ready for anything in these closing 20-plus laps here at the Indianapolis Grand Prix. It's a very cool weekend to be at Indianapolis, but it's also a cool weekend because, of course, it's Mother's Day tomorrow, Mother's Day weekend. And we hope that you're able to spend the day with your mum, maybe at your favorite restaurant or somewhere, and we wish all the mothers out there a happy Mother's Day. I just picked my own mum up. She traveled over from Australia this week. I picked her up from JFK earlier this week. And a quick reminder that if you want to be with us all through the month of May and the rest of the IndyCar season, and it could make a good Mother's Day present if you like, you get a $15 off discount off the IndyCar Pass by heading to NBCSports.com/IndyCar. Now you can watch all of the Indy 500 practice, qualifying, and a whole lot more. It's all live on demand and commercial free. And that IndyCar Pass on NBC Sports Gold just came out this year, and I know so many of you have it already. Well, Simon Pagenaud thought he had a great chance of standing on the podium, and it's not over yet, but he's not in a stronger position as he was before. Let's have a listen to some team radio.
Man, we put up gaps to sit on the rest and pit. I don't understand. It's going to rain harder. Somehow we would have had to make up 37 seconds to be able to do that. We're not going to make up 37 seconds in 7 laps on a wet track. Not wet enough. I think I could have.
Well, I think that's a little bit optimistic to pull a 37-second gap on a guy like Scott Dixon in these conditions. It
still doesn't look, Paul, like it's raining that hard, and if a dry line sort of starts to form, you're going to see guys really struggling to hang on with the wet tires.
The problem you're going to have is, I think you're going to have more yellows, and you're going to run out of laps to do it, because you know the conditions like this on slicks or wets, you're going to have guys spin out. Let's see what Dixon's got to say. Marty, you got somebody down there?
I do, and to Townsend's point, it is still raining, but it is raining a little bit lighter than it was, and I think we told you it'd be a chaotic day, and Mike Hull, for the strategist for Scott Dixon, been a little chaotic down here. How have you managed to keep up with all that's going on, Mike?
You know, volume injections, maybe. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, the rain's been coming for a while, but it's so difficult to know when it's going to hit like it has. So we used up all our red tires. We were hoping it started to rain so we didn't have to use up a set of blacks. So, but you know, we got 20 laps to go here, or it could be a time race at the end. So we'll just do our best.
What's the protocol you kind of walk Scott through? I know he's an expert at this, but to remind him of things in the rain, and clearly you do have the advantage of being up front.
I think that's a help, because you can see the spray on the front straight, even on the pace laps behind a parade car, pace car now. So I don't know, you know, it's just visibility is a big deal in the wet, and it's so tenuous. It's treachery in a way to have to drive in the wet, no matter where you drive. So we'll see how we go here.
You can see how wet that front stretch is. A couple of guys on pit road as well. But yes, the rain is still coming down. A little bit lighter, but it is coming down.
I just watched Castroneves go blowing by on the front stretch at speed, and there was a definitive rooster tail coming up, but on the back straightaway it doesn't look quite as wet. Now in the drivers meeting this morning, Sebastian Bourdais raised his hand, always outspoken, and said, hey, I just want to let everybody know this new sealer they put on the oval is incredibly slick in the wet. He was the only one in the test here to go out and do a wet lap. So that sealant is down in turn 1 in the brake zone, so don't go away. This is going to be interesting.
It certainly will, with just under 20 laps left to go. Stay with us to the end of the Indy Grand Prix.
Still under caution here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and for Jack Harvey, we heard his team owner say that he had never previously driven an IndyCar in the wet, and now he's going to be going after the 5-time champion, as Scott Dixon. Here was the message from the team moments ago.
All right, bud, you always tell me how good in the rain you are. This is going to be fun. Go past that guy in front of you and win the race.
Well, they said it. This is going to be fun, boys, isn't it?
It certainly will be. And in his younger racing days, Jack Harvey's had plenty of experience in the rain. But to be his first race in the rain at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, chasing down a 5-time champion, is quite surreal.
All right, bud. You have Piggott behind you that's laced.
Updating you too as we're coming to the restart, as that Joseph Newgarden has been sent to the rear of the field for that loose tire, and yet again Scott Dixon's taken off. Check out the third car in view. That's Spencer Piggott from Ed Carpenter Racing. He'll be chasing Jack Harvey down the front straight, looking for an inside line. He's in the draft, in the mist. Dixon's gone, and Harvey's able to hang on to second. But here comes Ed Jones around the outside.
Harvey sends it deep into 1. The visibility was 0 on the front stretch as Jones gets pushed a little wide, and that was Matthias Laced making a move.
Pagenaud, keep an eye on that bright yellow Menard Chevrolet.
And someone needs to remind Simon Pagenaud, as he runs right now, he would be 5 positions up in the championship into the top 6, which would be huge.
Simon Pagenaud, a lot of experience in the rain. Ed Jones grew up in Dubai. He doesn't have a lot of experience out in the desert in the Middle East, as Pagenaud looks on the outside but runs out of room.
But Lace went around Lace and Piggott. Lace went around the outside of Spencer Piggott. Everybody fighting for traction. Now you see the big rooster tail on the front stretch, but this infield section doesn't have that new sealant. The water is absorbing into the track.
Now they're on that sealant. It gets pretty slick down here in the brake zone. A lot of guys were locking up right
Piggott
there.
Jones, turn 12. Pagenaud's going to be the big winner here. He goes around the outside of Spencer Piggott. Can he pull it off? Yes, he can.
Alternate line around the outside seemed to work pretty good right there.
Careful here as you come up onto the banking and up onto that sealer and all the spray.
Wild stuff down the front straightaway. Piggott's under attack again.
Dixon put almost 3 seconds on Jack Harvey. Inside goes Pagenaud.
I think if he gets clean air now, Pagenaud's going to catch up. Simon Pagenaud passed a bunch of cars that lap.
You guys see that experience for Simon Pagenaud coming through. Lee, you know this. When he was a young driver growing up in France, he drove for Peugeot, and they made him every year spend 6 days, and you see some dicing going on back there, 6 days in the rain. They would wet the track if it wasn't raining. That Peugeot training coming in handy for Simon Pagenaud right now.
And he's driven in all kinds of conditions and cars, no surprise there. Well, it was Spencer Piggott that shortcut the track there.
He went in side by side right here with Graham Rahal. Graham was on the curb, and he was forced to go over there, so I don't know if that'll be a penalty or not. But Piggott was on the inside of the curb, so he might have to give up that position.
A little further back, Marco Andretti, Pato Award, Zach Veach, and Takuma Sato.
It is shocking that there hasn't been a yellow yet with these conditions.
Tony Kanaan there, followed by Hunter Ray. Pato Award Veach making moves, go over under right there. Nice pass by Veach right there. Look at that move.
Meanwhile, we don't get an opportunity to say this all too often. AJ Foyt's team, the AB Supply Chevrolet of Matheus Leist, is up in third. The young Brazilian is driving very well, and he's got 2 seconds, just over 2 seconds over Simon Pagenaud. Will he be able to maintain that, because Pagenaud is flying at the moment?
It'll be a huge day for AJ Foyt Racing if they get on the podium here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course. They've struggled so hard this year, but look at Dixon. He is just checked out on Harvey.
He has to manage his tires, though, because there is a little bit of a dry line forming through this section. That'll put some extra wear and tear on the wets. But for Jack Harvey, a guy with no experience in this situation, he's doing a brilliant job to hold on to second.
Here he is, the 20-year-old Brazilian. Great young personality, lives in Florida, has done for many years, has been frustrated though. They wanted to make more progress, and he was beside himself yesterday after qualifying. He said, I don't really have anything to say. Our road and street course package is not where it wants to be. Well, it is in the wet, and this young man's doing a super job.
Rain is the great equalizer. Even if you don't have a good car in the dry, when it rains, Townsend, it's always an equalizer. So it shows your driving talent, and this kid is showing it right now.
There's AJ, there's Super Tex.
And look at Simon Pagenaud back there, slowly reeling in Leist and Harvey. Pagenaud now in the top 5 in the championship as he runs, and he could end up in second place in this race, which would give him even more points. So we've been waiting for the big weekend for Simon Pagenaud, and it's come to him now.
And he wanted to stay on slicks and try to pull a gap. He might have a good chance of finishing second. It'll be a tough haul to pull in Dixon from there.
You're about a second quicker than anybody on the track.
That's the voice of Kyle Moyer to Simon Pagenaud. Just keep in mind, there's only ever been 2 drivers to win an IndyCar race on this Indy Grand Prix circuit. One is Will Power. Power's not in the mix today. He's way down the order. The other one is the man in the yellow Menard Chevrolet, Simon Pagenaud, a 2-time winner.
I just looked at the monitors to see if Kyle Moyer was giving it straight to Pagenaud and not just giving him optimistic information. And it is true. Pagenaud a second quicker than Scott Dixon. There's 14 laps left. Pagenaud's only 6 seconds behind the leader. If he can get by and resume that pace, there's a chance that Pagenaud could haul in Scott Dixon.
And we're getting right on the fringe, guys. Either 85 laps or 2 hours, whichever comes first. There is a 2-hour race time limit.
Look at the guys cooling their tires now. It's exactly like what we were talking about earlier. Dry line forming. They're looking for water on the front stretch to try to cool off the rain tires. The rain tires getting hot through these sections on the backside.
Pagenaud very experienced in the rain. So many times he's raced at Le Mans in the middle of the night, in the Peugeot and other endurance cars he's driven. A lot of time in the rain in Europe growing up, and he's closing down on Matheus Leist.
The only thing working against Pagenaud right now is he only has 15 seconds of push to pass left. The cars in front of him, 58, 68, 54 seconds.
You talk to some of the veterans of the sport who employed Simon Pagenaud when he was younger, like Gilles de Ferran, Duncan Dayton, Derek Walker. Ask him the question, why did you pick Pagenaud? In addition to being fast, they said he's smart.
And he's smart on the racetrack. You could see Pagenaud experimenting. He's the first one to try to work the apex curves in that left, right, left section. So I see a lot of experimentation, which is what you have to do in these variable conditions to figure out, be the first one to find the grip.
You guys mentioned the tough start of the season for Simon Pagenaud. He knows, yes, there is pressure. There's 271 points available in really the next 4 races for these race teams. But he told me that pressure doesn't really apply so much to him, because he said, I know what I can do. I know I can still run in these races. We just had bad luck this year, especially in qualifying, and he is gaining on Matheus Leist. You can visibly see it, Kelly.
Yeah, the team has told Matheus Leist that he can change the mapping now that the rain has lessened a little bit, but PT hit it on the head earlier when he said they have been struggling all weekend. Matheus Leist and his teammate Tony Kanaan, they've thrown everything they can at these cars to try to make them better. And when I saw him before warm-up, he wasn't terribly optimistic about it, but he said, look, we're just trying a new package we've never used in a race before, hoping we can learn something to move forward. And with this rain now, they're staring down a podium finish. All right, here's the team radio moments ago.
Do what you can to keep the tires wet because the rain has stopped right now.
And there you heard the report, and I can confirm that down here on pit road. We've put away our umbrella for the time being.
12 laps to go, Paul. If somebody were to risk it in pit and put slicks on, they could make some quick work, but you're going to lose about 35 seconds on pit lane, and it's still wet in areas. As you see your Honda on the move update, and it's Matheus Leist, 18 positions. Marco Andretti up 10 in a Honda. Piggott, Hinchcliffe, and Veach, so those are the big movers.
Watch Simon Pagenaud on the brakes down at turn 1 here. If he gets a good run on him here, he's monster on the brakes.
Jack Harvey looking in his mirrors. He'll see that bright yellow Menard Chevrolet. Here comes Pagenaud round the outside of Matheus Leist. This is for a top 3 spot, and the young man gives way to the former champ.
I told you he was monster on the brakes. I could see that coming from the lap before, but Matheus Leist hangs on the outside, but he's got him now.
In all of the craziness we've witnessed today, there's also been some very respectful driving. Good, clean, professional driving.
With 11 laps to go, Scott Dixon and Mike Hall should be getting a little nervous. If Pagenaud can clear Harvey, he's got a shot at the win.
What a remarkable story it would be if the Frenchman continues to pull off savvy moves like this. Dixon up front, but Pagenaud on the charge. What a start to the 2019 NTT IndyCar season we have had. And that's being highlighted today here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A little bit of everything. And the series could see its 5th different winner from 5 races if Scott Dixon can hang on. But look out, Jack Harvey in the Meyer Shank Sirius XM car holding off Simon Pagenaud. But the question begs, PT and Townsend, for how much longer?
He's got to be a little careful, Jack Harvey, in the way in which he cools his tires and comes back over to the racing line, effectively blocking Pagenaud from the dry line, whose Pagenaud's been so good on the brakes, Paul, as you alluded to, that it really took the opportunity away. So Harvey's got to be careful.
He's an absolute demon down on the brakes down to turn 1. Doesn't seem to have as much as an advantage here at this end of the track, but I think on that sealer, he seems to have that braking zone really figured out on these guys. So Harvey's got to be careful that he doesn't swerve back over in front of him.
Harvey's gone wide a couple of times down there in the right-hander.
On the front again, use the button.
He's telling him use the button, so he's defending here as he's trying to do a rain line. He goes a little bit narrow, then he runs a little bit off the curb there. So what Pagenaud needs to do is just drive an alternate line here and try to square him up and stay close. You can see Pagenaud went a little bit offline there, and here we go. We'll see right here.
Problem is, Paul, Pagenaud has 3 seconds of push to pass left.
On the button.
He's on the button, but he's so good on the brakes, but he's a little bit too far back. But look at the closing distance here.
That was Harvey on the button. You could just see his roll hoop blinking green. Harvey really didn't need to use it right there, but Harvey is in a really strong position because Pagenaud's burned up almost everything he has.
Let's remind ourselves, though, that Jack Harvey has never raced an IndyCar in the wet, and he's fending off one of the best in the wet in any form of car in Simon Pagenaud. What a drive in the AutoNation Honda for Jack Harvey. He will not do the full season. Meyer Shanks upped the commitment to 10 races this year, which is up from last year. But this will be the highlight for this young British driver and the team if he can get a podium here in Indy.
He's under a lot of pressure from a series champion, a Penske driver, the biggest team in the series, a former winner here against the smallest team, smallest outfit. So he's hanging on here, but all the while, Scott Dixon is just motoring away.
On the front straight.
Turn 12, right at the end of the lap here.
Now.
12, then 13 and 14. 8 laps left to go. Not even that 7 as Dixon will cross the line momentarily.
And all of this has allowed AJ Foyt Racing with Matheus Leist to sneak back into the conversation further back. And Jones is slowly catching this group, so could be a really good battle for the podium positions.
Harvey has great power down in that last corner. He's able to put a gap to Pagenaud in there, but look at the close. It closes down in the brake zone.
Well, and it's 7 laps remaining. Harvey's been using the button with pretty good discipline. About 5 seconds he burned on that last straightaway. So That's all Harvey has to do to stay in front of Pagenaud unless Pagenaud pressures him in the infield and forces a mistake.
It's been intense at the front, but it's also been intense all through the field. This is the pole sitter, Felix Rosenqvist, and fellow rookie Santino Ferrucci, wheel-to-wheel contact.
Still there.
Ferrucci says, Rosenqvist says, I'm coming through. And then Santino sees his teammate at Dale Coyne Racing go by. That's Sebastian Bourdais, gives him a slap and then runs wide.
He's getting body checked by everybody on every side, but he got back by his teammate.
It's hockey season.
Yeah. Stanley Cup playoffs. Western Conference Finals, game 1 tonight at 8 here on NBC. Pagenaud feels has got a chance. Harvey has run wide several times over the last 2 laps.
Look at the power down right here as he comes on this corner. He's so good, so he's pulling a gap right there, but this is the closest Pagenaud's been right here, but he has no push to pass.
6 to go.
Now Pagenaud's on the button. 3 seconds left. He used about half a second. Well, there it is, 2 seconds. Now Pagenaud's out. That's it. No more push to pass.
Deep on the brakes, deep on the brakes.
Wow.
Pagenaud knew that was his last little bit. That could be his only chance, and he took it.
He was so good.
Superstar, just good laps now. Catch back up to Dixie. He's starting to use his overtake to get away from you.
Look at the gap.
Kyle Moyer says, all right, superstar, now concentrate on chasing down that gap to Dixon.
Pagenaud pushing really hard right now to make sure that he opens up a gap before Harvey has a chance to be back on the button next time on the front straight.
Look at this gap, guys, the gap that he closed on the brakes.
Woo! That is phenomenal. In the slick, slippery conditions. There's Kyle Moyer on the right. Not showing a whole lot of emotion. He's been around such a long time.
Tell you what, he's closing the gap pretty quick. That gap, the distance now is down to 5 seconds in 1 lap. It was out to 7 seconds. So at this rate, he's going to catch Dixon.
How about 4 seconds?
3 to go.
He was 1.3 seconds of a lap faster on that last lap, and Pagenaud gets a little wide there. Dixon's got 33 seconds remaining, but you have to think Dixon's just been managing the gap, not trying to use his tires too hard.
Pagenaud chased him down in the dry on the first stint, remember. They chased him down in dry conditions, but like you said, the issue he's got, he can get there, but he's got no more push to pass left.
A little further back, tremendous team effort from the Indianapolis-based team, Ed Carpenter Racing, with both their drivers in 5th and 6th. As we monitor this, there's been a further 0.3 of a second shaved off Dixon's lead by Pagenaud. Make that even more now. It's down to 3.2. Here comes the Frenchman.
He is coming. There's no doubt he is quicker than Scott Dixon, but Mike Hull has been coaching Dixon on the radio to say, hey, here's what's going on with Pagenaud. He is quicker than you, but manage that gap. And I think the key is what Paul mentioned a moment ago. Dixon has 33 seconds of push to pass left, now 32. Simon Pagenaud has 0.
He can almost use it every lap now until the finish downs and just keep using it on the 2 straightaways to maintain the gap.
But if you're Mike Hall, you just saw Pagenaud come from way back to pass Jack Harvey, so Pagenaud just needs to get close enough to exercise his technique and what appears to be his dominance in these conditions. Look at how close Pagenaud got to the wall exiting that final corner. And he's working the wet. Pagenaud's working all the moisture to keep the tires cool.
And if you flash back a year ago here, it was Scott Dixon doing the chasing on Will Power.
It was 3.2 seconds, Dixon to Pagenaud, a lap ago. It's now 1.7. Simon Pagenaud 2 seconds quicker on that last lap.
Dixon may have 29 seconds of push to pass left in the bank versus Pagenaud's none, but it doesn't seem to matter. It is not stopping the Team Penske driver.
Gap now down to 1 second.
Little curb hop in the fast chicane. Now he's getting the aerodynamic turbulence. He's closed that gap, but now he's got to deal with the aerodynamic turbulence, which is going to make it even more slippery. But Dixon's got to be good off this last corner and utilize the push to pass if he's going to have any chance of holding off Pagenaud in that brake zone where he is so good.
I don't care how much push to pass you have. You're not going to find 2 seconds a lap.
He's there. Look out, because he's right there now.
When they cross the line this time by, as Pagenaud is as close as he's ever been to Dixon, it will be 3 laps to go. Just under 7.5 miles of racing on what has been a fabulous day in the Indy Grand Prix. Who's going to win it? Will Dixon get his first one here on this road course?
You saw Dixie really sucks back in this paint in turn 4.
The brakes, he pops out and takes a look. He's not close enough. Dixon was on push to pass on the straight. Pagenaud is out, so he's got to be closer getting off the last corner.
You heard Kyle Moyer there say maybe a not so complimentary description of Dixon in the final chicane. Look at Pagenaud there. The speed difference through that right-hander.
Get the feeling Dixon's picked it up a little bit though now.
And just keep in mind, guys, the second run of the day, Scott Dixon really struggled at the end of the run with the rear tires going off. Granted, that was on the primary tires earlier in the race. This is on rain tires, but Dixon has struggled with rear grip at the end of these runs.
I wonder if Pagenaud's going to send it down into 1 like he did on Harvey.
Well, it was a good practice run, wasn't it?
It really
was. A good
was.
rehearsal.
He's got nothing to lose right now but to send it. He needs a win in the worst way to get a shot in the arm to get that confidence back.
And he knows that Dixon is probably leading the points. He is by now. Dixon, as he runs right now, would lead the championship, and nobody likes to get the most points possible, you know, more than Scott Dixon, because if there's a situation in turn 1, Dixon might just avoid the contact.
We haven't forgotten about Jack Harvey in 3rd, heading for Meyer Shank's first IndyCar podium in just 2 laps time.
That's a good gap right there. He was able to close that gap on Harvey. Let's see if he can do it. He takes a look.
Not quite close enough.
Yeah.
Dixon is better on the brakes than Harvey is. But this is going to be all down to the last lap.
Dixon with a big slide right there, exiting the left-hander.
Protecting the inside now. He didn't go all the way out to the curb.
Maybe Pagenaud's going to send it on the back straight in the brake zone.
Oh, little twitch there from Dixon. All over the curbs.
2 seasoned veterans going at it for the win in the Indy Grand Prix. 2016 champion Simon Pagenaud. Oh, and Dixon,
he
a little wide there.
He ran wide, they touch.
Easy.
Pagenaud.
Oh, the outside, he got him, unbelievable.
This has been an incredible comeback from Simon Pagenaud.
Dixon still has 13 seconds if he can stay close and push to pass, but Pagenaud just found a huge gap.
He's gone.
He was furious that they didn't pit at a different time, but it doesn't matter. He's found the lead of this race with about 1 1/4 laps to go.
I don't think this thing's over yet.
He's got pushed to pass, but look at, he's taken off. He's gone already.
Next time Pagenaud sees this, the checkered flag will be out.
Pagenaud with the left rear in the wet at 130 miles an hour, and I don't think Dixon has a chance now.
This is incredible. Pagenaud won, driving for Sam Schmidt and Rick Peterson in the first year back in 2014. And then he won again for Roger Penske in 2016, the year he won the championship.
Penske has been nowhere this weekend in terms of performance, and this win today will fall all in the hands of this driver's ability to drive this car in the wet and his tenacity to get another win.
In the background, Jack Harvey in the Meyer Shank Honda. Phenomenal performance all weekend long. He's on target to finish where he started in 3rd. A high for that small team with limited resources and budget that are punching above their weight. But nobody gets the headlines more than Simon Pagenaud today. This has been outstanding. The 34-year-old Frenchman, the champion of the series in 2016. He's still got the 500 on his list to check. Maybe he can do that in 2 weeks' time. But he's going to follow this unbelievably rich tradition of Roger Penske's team winning.
Great job, everybody.
And Simon Pagenaud wins the Indy Grand Prix of Indianapolis in the most phenomenal style.
I'm blown away.
I was just about to speculate that Pagenaud would be emotional after this win. He beat me to it.
That was all on him. That pass for the lead. He just chased him down.
I've never seen something that good.
Kyle Moyer says, I've never seen something that good. He chased Dixon down from 7 seconds, stalked him, hunted him, and just made his move.
And with no push to pass available.
So Dixon locks up a little bit and runs wide of the apex here, and he just dives it in there on the power. They bang wheels right here and then makes the outside move.
Simon Pagenaud hadn't had a victory since Sonoma, the season finale in 2017. It has been a drought, and the drought comes on a day of rain. The drought ends on a day of rain here in Indianapolis. What a move. He saw the opportunity, pounced, and then took off. That's Emma Davies-Dixon. That's Scott's wife. She's like, oh, no. Hubby couldn't hold him off. And watch these guys, Ben Bretzman, John Menard, Kyle Moyer and the gang. Jubilant. There is nothing like playoff hockey, and the battle for a spot in the Stanley Cup playoff begins, in the final I should say, begins on the West Coast as the Blues face off against the Sharks in San Jose. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. That's tonight at 8 right here on NBC. As we welcome you back, it is celebration time in Victory Lane for Simon Pagenaud. There's his partner, Haley. Everybody's there, Marty, to celebrate. What a drive.
So much emotion has gone into this day for Simon Pagenaud to get back to this point, back to victory lane. Everybody questioning him and the lack of success this year, but he answers in a big way today. How did you do that with no push to pass? Was that the most determined drive you've ever had in the last 5 laps?
Oh, yeah, it was. It was amazing, the whole race. I was like, what's going on? I thought everybody was saving fuel, which is so fast. Chevy did a fantastic job giving us the horsepower. And Menard, you know, second time in victory lane here at the Grand Prix. Third time, so I'm equal with Will. That's awesome. We kept it in the Penske family. I can't believe it. It's awesome. What a race. I mean, it was awesome. And I want to thank Team Penske, everybody that supports me. Obviously, this is the sweetest win I've ever had, I guess.
Jack Harvey in with a high five. You and I talked about the pressure on you. You said, I don't let it bother me. I know what's at stake here at the month of May. How do you not let that pressure bother you when everybody's saying, what's wrong with Simon? Remember that?
But I answered it, and I know what I'm worth. It's just, I got to get everything right, and we did that this weekend. Slowly and surely we got there. Like I said to you, the stars just didn't align before, but performance has always been there. This year, the team has been fantastic at giving me what I need, so here we are.
He said it. I answered all the questions today. A trip to victory lane for Simon Pagenaud. And Kyle Moyer said, hey, it's just the first trip to victory lane here at Indianapolis. We're going to have one more later in the month.
Big day for Simon Pagenaud, another big points day for Scott Dixon, who finishes second for the 3rd time this year, 3rd straight year in this race. What was the difference down to the finish where Simon got around you?
Yeah, it was tough. You know, I knew kind of from the get-go that I was going to be struggling with the front end, and we just, I don't know why it was balanced that way, but we just, you know, felt like I needed about 6 turns of front wing, but thought we could maybe hold the gap, but the harder I pushed, the worse it got, and just, you know, blitzed the front tires off the car. But, you know, all in all, you know, solid effort. It was a tricky race. You know, it sucks to obviously lead that many laps and then come up short, but again, you know, congrats to Simon. He drove a hell of a race, and, you know, it's nice to see him back in victory lane.
How difficult were the conditions, especially before you changed to the rain tires?
You know, it was just kind of, it would start to rain and then it would stop. It was kind of light, you know, it was really hard to tell because some of the parts of the track were quite shiny, you know, I think with, you know, the new sealant that they've put on in some areas. So it was definitely tricky conditions, but, you know, big thanks to Honda and obviously PNC Bank, and, you know, we'll come back in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Scott. Kelly?
All right, so the first career podium for Jack Harvey, first for this team, and you did it. Your first time in the wet. What does it mean to get this team right here on the podium?
I believed in this team from the Indy 500 in 2017, and, you know, I knew this weekend could happen eventually, and everybody at Meyershank Race and Arrow Schmidt Peterson Motorsport just worked so hard to give us that. It wasn't an easy race with it being half dry, half wet, but we put on a great show for everybody at AutoNation and SiriusXM, and you could see how happy these guys were just getting a podium. Can you imagine how happy we're going to be when we finally get a win? So that's where we're going.
Big celebration down here. Congratulations to Jack Harvey. Lee?
What a day on so many levels, so much to talk about, and just so much great achievement. And Pagenaud kind of feels he's back. Jack Harvey feels he belongs. Scott Dixon, the reigning champ, a little disappointed, but what a day to remember.
Terrific day, and it all came down to weather and when it came. But Pagenaud, the guy with the pace in the end, he was patient with his tires when he needed to, and he had him there at the end, Paul, when he had to push.
I'll tell you what, if that's a preview for what's coming in 2 weeks for the 500, you guys better tune in because it's going to be a ride.
And remember that Indy 500 practice begins on Tuesday and rolls on through. We got so much. Newgarden manages to hang on to the lead just over Scott Dixon, 6 points, and Alexander Rossi in third. There is the IndyCar Grand Prix coming up next, except on the West Coast. It's your local news, and tonight at 8, it's Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Join us next weekend for Indy 500 qualifying, Saturday at 5 Eastern on NBCSN and noon here on NBC. Congratulations to Simon Pagenaud, and happy Mother's Day to all the mums for tomorrow.